Oh, I just realized you guys can hear me. It's not like I'm about... They can hear me, not you. I think.
Hear me.
Hold on. Ah, fudge it. It's fine. No. turn myself back on now that they can hear me because I didn't realize they couldn't. Now they can hear you.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey. Okay, ready? One. Wait, is it
Sure.
this one? Nope, this one.
Wait,
Wait,
are we
hold
ready?
on. I messed up the screen. Hold on.
You can see my laundry in the background.
Wait,
That's
hold
really
on. You
cute.
can't. Where are you guys?
I don't know.
I fixed
Wait,
it.
what do you mean, where are we?
No,
We're
it's on my screen. It's my screen. Don't worry. I messed up. It's not y'all. There we go. I fixed it. This is what happens when I randomly decide I'm going to do a gaming stream and then I reset everything incorrectly. So, there you go. Hello. Welcome, friends, to our Mist and Fury live. I just want to quickly call out. I think does everyone wear? Well, everyone's wearing an SJM shirt. It looks like we have Kate in a Rune Dannon.
Yes.
Appropriate. Appropriate. No spoilers. Just appropriate. I'm in an Eris redemption arc that I made for myself before Silver Flames came out. We all know how that went. Avery's in a general Cassian.
Are we surprised?
No. Do you have Ashley, are you in like a night court?
I'm in welcome to the night court.
Ooh, love that. And then I see Caitlin also has a night court sigil. Is it all SJM? Is that Moon's?
Like mine?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe.
It's cute.
Thanks.
It's like is that an Enchanted Oddities?
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
God bless.
I love her.
She's the best.
So cute.
Awesome. Okay, well, so this is clearly what we're doing. This is a bit chaotic. Quick note. We are going to spoil the ACOTAR series, not crossovers, unless we really, really feel necessary at the very, very end. So if you've not read all 15 books, you're good, but you should at least read the 5 ACOTAR books. Because I don't think any of us can say a nice thing about Tamlin. Not like we need to at this point. I'm going to try and be neutral for him for like 30 seconds. That's it.
You're not getting any of that from me, guys.
I just feel like 30 seconds of being nice to him is what he deserves, and then I can move on.
No, I didn't like him in the first book.
Okay,
so no.
well, I can be 30 seconds. Okay, oh yeah. So, let me see. What is, my question I wanted to ask when everyone introduces themselves, which by the way, I'm going to update at the end of this live. Their links are not fully updated in the description. I know that. I will update it when this is over. So if you're watching this post this recording, their info's down below. And I will also be putting it in Discord. So if anyone's like, oh, I want to know where they are, I'll update you guys there. But
We're everywhere.
okay. My question is, and it's an easy one. Who is your favorite ACOTAR, or I should say, who is your favorite character in Mist and Fury? There you go. That's your question. Okay.
Cassian.
Avery. Okay. Well, Avery doesn't need to introduce herself, so hers is Cassian. All right, Kate, who's your favorite?
I would probably also say Cassian. And I was talking about this yesterday. As I'm doing these rereads, I'm realizing how much less I care about Feyre and Rhys. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's normal. Okay, Ashley, who's your favorite Mist and Fury character?
I mean, Rhys and Feyre.
I'm not surprised. And Caitlin, Rhys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, hold on. No, we gotta pause.
Okay.
because
Okay.
I first read through everything. I was obviously a Tamlin lover at first, and I was a Nesta hater at first. But then in this reread, I was like, why did I hate her? Why? I was a Nesta lover in this book, but Rhys was obviously still first. I mean, no.
Yeah. Who would be my favorite Mr. I will tell you who it was the first time I read it. The very first time I read it was Amryn.
Oh God.
The tiny annoying one. Obviously, I immediately was like, friend. That's exactly what I did. I think on a reread, I don't know. it's probably Cassian because, and I'll grab my tabbed copy because of chapter 30. I think it's Cassian just for that chapter alone, which is when he trains with Feyre. But like, and also him with Nesta.
Yeah, him with Nesta, and then my man's getting his wings shredded. Like, I'm like, he's my baby.
You know,
like,
you bring that up too many times for someone who is sad about that.
I'm telling you, it was okay. So when I first read the book, I had exactly one question for my friend who was essentially watching me read them.
Yeah.
And it was, I need to know if Cassian's okay, if he gets his wings back. And she was like, are you sure you want me to tell you? And I was like, I am not going to survive these next 3 days that I'm not allowed to read if you don't tell me
If
just
his wings
yes
are
or no.
okay.
Yeah. And she
Yeah.
was like, yes. And I was like, thank you. I'm good now.
There's another character in another series that has something very tragic happen to their wings, and I think that was worse for me.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think I've actually reread that, nor do I want to. So you'll have to pull the theory quotes from that because that's how upsetting it was for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was upsetting, but like this was worse for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the deep dive. Granted, and I like to put this as a caveat. Some people in this group have reread, some people haven't. That's totally fine. Obviously, we have Flame and Shadow coming out in January, so some people are pushing their rereads. We did our best to line this up as quick as we could, so like, you know, it's fair game. But we're gonna try and refresh everyone's memories a little bit. The first thing I want to say is, and obviously I want to ask you guys really if some of that, you know, what your thoughts were the first time you read it versus, you know, on a reread, or, you know, what you think about it now after time has passed. But going to the very first part, which is obviously when she spends the most time with Tamlin, was anyone like, I guess my question is like, at what point did you realize you didn't want her with Tamlin? Like, was there a point in that first part? Was it a little later? Because and the reason I'm asking this is like, I will never forget like finishing ACOTAR, and I was like, I like Tamlin. Like, you know, I secretly thought that Rhys was her mate, but didn't want to say that on the internet because I was afraid I was wrong. And then someone in the comment I remember told me, oh, well, they're engaged. And I was like, what? What do you mean they're engaged? And so then I'm reading all of the beginning of Akamath, and I was just shocked that they were engaged because that was not something that was explained in ACOTAR, but like you just found out when you started Mist and Fury. And that was the sick pit stomach feeling I had. I was like, we should not be engaged. Like, we're not ready for this step. So I'm just curious if anyone else like had that moment or if there was another part.
I would say for me, it was when she kept getting sick every night and there was nothing being done and no one was doing anything to help her. I was getting really upset. I was like, if he loves her, like, why are we not doing something? And that was kind of the switch for me because I truly was like a Tamlin lover at the first.
Yeah.
Alive.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, I see you're thinking.
I'm thinking there's several times, like, I know the second time around, I remember thinking like, I forgot there was so much of Tamlin.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Like, why? But I think when Rhys starts teaching her to read, that bond between them starting to grow and like their snarky little back and forth, and like I really loved that you could tell he was like trying to help her. And so I really loved those moments. But then also when Tamlin says like, there's no high ladies, like, what are you talking about? You know, like that I did not love that.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, some red flag behavior.
I think that was some of my favorite things to do when I was working on the notes for ACOTAR even, was just putting in the red flag gif.
Red flags everywhere.
Because I didn't like Tamlin in ACOTAR. I wouldn't say I'm in a minority, but like I'm not.
No, you're in a minority. A lot of people really, they don't necessarily, I wouldn't say like, it's kind of a fine line. Most people fall neutral to him. They're like,
that's what I'm saying.
He's fine. Some people will love him and some people will be like, nah, not the dude, hate you.
Yeah, I wasn't like a not the dude hate you. I just saw like a lot of things that I really didn't like about him in the first book. And so then, like Caitlin said, when we like step into chapter 1 and she's like, I'm vomiting and he's not coming near me and he's not talking about it and we won't talk about it. I was like, absolutely not.
And
No.
all they're doing is
Mhm.
sleeping together.
Oh God. Ugh.
Way too much.
That was a
Enraging.
Yeah.
Enraging.
This is the one time I would agree
Yeah.
with you, Ashley. It was a little too much.
Yeah. I mean, I did the graphic audio. It was too much.
I'm
I
gonna
was
be-
like traumatized.
Okay, this is the one time. So the graphic, for anyone who's never listened to them, they're great, by the way. Also, don't recommend speeding them up. This is like the one time I would say, like, for me at least,
Oh.
I can't speed them. It just sounds weird because like
I
you
listened
hear
to them at like 1.4, I think.
Okay. Okay. But this was the one time I think in the history of a graphic audiobook that I will ever have, because they're doing Throne of Glass and I want to listen to those as well. But that, to your point, every time Feyre and Tamlin did it, you could hear the sheets rustle. And I finally was like, nope, and had to fast forward.
Yeah.
Like I could not hear that one more time with Tamlin. Like it just, absolutely not. Do you guys remember? I know I'll say at the end because I had a really weird moment when Rhys showed up, like personally. But did you guys were you guys excited when Rhys showed up? Was anyone like, oh shoot, this is not going to work out?
So excited.
Everyone was excited. Okay.
I had been
Yeah.
warned that because somebody had told, they didn't say like, oh, she ends up with Rhys, but it was like, you're going to hate Tamlin. And I remember getting to the end of book 1 and was like,
Then who is it?
wow, like, how is that going to, like, I just didn't see how she was going to thoroughly ruin Tamlin. And then
Yeah.
she really did an excellent job.
So I will say this again when we record the podcast, but I swear on Rowan's life this actually happened to me. When I was reading Mist and Fury, it was day. It was like the daytime. Okay, like the lights were out, everything, you know. I had my windows open. No, I didn't have any lights on in my room because it was bright enough. The minute Rhys showed up to the wedding, the room went completely pitch black because a cloud had gone through, to the point that I had to turn on a light because I couldn't read the page. I swear to God this happened, and I was like, I got the chills. Like, it was so bizarre. And I think it was like divine intervention because it was the weirdest thing ever. And for like a good second part of that chapter, I couldn't read it without a light on. Even if you go back and you look at the TikTok, you can see the light shifted in the room. Weirdest thing. Also summoned Rowan with a candle in Queen of Shadows, but a pine candle, but which is another true fact. But it was, I remember being so excited that Rhys showed up because I just did not want her to get married, because my logical brain was like, then we have to go through a divorce. I don't want that. Can we just not get married so there's no divorce? Like, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if anyone else felt this, but I had very strong Hades and Persephone vibes. So I was convinced she really was going to go to like a nightmare location, and was shocked when it wasn't. Like, it was beautiful and like pretty. And then the lovely shoe throwing scene, which I always forget, but they better not mess that up in the TV show. Okay, let me think as we move farther in. Well, I guess like the next big thing I want to ask you guys about in the beginning portion before we get to Valeris is obviously when Tamlin locks her in the house.
Ooh.
I'm going to be honest, this is when I am someone who will listen to the audiobook of Mist and Fury frequently. This is when I started, is literally when she's locked in the house, because I'm chaotic. But I'm just curious, like, what was everyone's reaction to that? I remember the thing that set me off was Tamlin saying, we don't want, like, you're not trained, you can't go. I was like, hold my earrings. Like, I was pissed. So I was just curious, did anyone else, or anything in that beginning portion that like really pissed you off? For me, it was that.
I mean, well, like when she got locked in, obviously I was pissed off, but like I was like Avery, where like I kind of never loved Tamlin.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it all started blowing up and she was like shrouded in darkness, and like you kind of got to see like the first of her like powers coming through, I thought that was like super exciting.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, now we're going to start the real story. So I think that was really good. But in terms of pissing me off, I think it was mostly just always Tamlin. Like anytime they're like, no, we won't train you. It's like, no, if you don't want a badass bitch, you can't be in one of these books. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, I got pissed off a couple of times, and it was always with Tamlin, but it was not always just Feyre.
Yeah.
So what made me really angry was how he was so dismissive of Lucien.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, and then I felt for Lucien because I've been in several situations where you're like, somebody's gotten angry at you and you just kind of internalize everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, never mind. I'm just not going to talk. And like, I felt that. And I was like, I'm going to fight somebody in a minute. Are you kidding me? So that was, I think the first time I got really pissed off in the book was when Feyre ends up in Lucien's head because of that reaction.
Avery, you make such a good point because I will never forget like Lucien saying like to Feyre, how long has this been going on? Like, we really should train you. And Tamlin was so dismissive in that moment, even though he was trying to help a friend. Lucien was not trying to help himself at that point in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Ianthe is absolute poison.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about her.
She's in the room going, no, it's a bad idea. No, it's a bad idea. Shut up. Nobody cares what you have to say. You suck. I didn't like her at the beginning either.
Yeah. I would like to add on to the Lucien comment because I think a lot of people are, jump to hating Lucien, but I think when you see the anger and the aftermath of what Tamlin does to like his vicinity, it's like Lucien is also walking on eggshells. Like this is like his childhood friend, and he is trying to like not get himself hurt or put himself in a really bad situation. So like he is also very much like being abused by Tamlin.
It's almost like
whether intentional or not.
Right. It's almost like a little kid when you go over to a friend's house or like and you have a sleepover and you're just trying to play by the rules so you don't get kicked out, but you also know that your friend is kind of crappy. Like that's what is going on. Like let's be honest, like Spring was never Lucien's home. Like he's a refugee there because of the situation he was given. And so he's trying to play nice so that he doesn't get kicked out, because where is he supposed to go?
Right.
Like he can't go anywhere. So his loyalty, of course, is going to be to the guy who's provided him not just a home, but a place that is safe, it's not just a roof over his head. And I think that's something that gets dismissed very easily.
Which is also why, like, in Aquawar, he, like, straight up, like, the second he's back with Feyre, he's like, I'm out. Dip. Bye. Like, whatever. I can see through what you're doing here, and you're not upset that your sisters are there. Let's go find out what the hell's going on.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Okay, I will quickly, this is my one, I told them I was going to do 30 seconds of defending Tamlin. This is my 30 seconds. I don't even think it's going to get that long. All I'm going to say is, I think the issue with Tamlin is, from his point of view, I don't think he ever really envisioned falling in love with the human that he was supposed to fall in love with for this curse. But he fell so head over heels with this idea of this delicate little human that he needed to protect, who wanted to be protected because she was forced to do all these things to save her own family. What he didn't understand was how much trauma would have gone into her going under the mountain, that she's no longer that delicate little human that needs to be protected. She's gone through 3 insane trials where her life has been put, at risk. And like at this point, she's now dealing with that trauma, whereas Tamlin would rather just like protect her by keeping her safe. And you can even see it like when he gets mad at her, or like when he shattered the room with the paints and stuff, and he says like, I'm so sorry. Let's just move on. It's this almost like coping mechanism for him, because he has not moved on from his own issues. Because the thing, and it took this reread for me to kind of really get it. And this isn't the best analogy, I'll be honest, but it's the closest one in my head that I could do. It's like, sometimes I have to remind myself that Tamlin was the general of Spring. He was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be Cassian. That's who he was supposed to be, okay? Then he got thrusted into being a High Lord. Granted, it's been so many years, he should have figured it out by now, okay? So, like, not going to totally defend his actions. But, like, imagining someone in Cassian's position as a High Lord, and then with a a naive, delicate lover, like they would want to be extremely protective. Cassian would rather be like, no, we're gonna train you and figure it out. But like, it's putting myself in that lens with Tamlin, I can understand it, but I still think his actions were stupid as all hell.
Yeah, he's just suffocating.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's
Yeah.
suffocating.
And it was refreshing to see Rhys not do that. Sorry, Caitlin.
Oh no, you're good. I just feel like he's willfully blind.
Mhm.
Like he doesn't want to see that she has changed.
Yes.
And that she is somebody new, and that, if you truly love that person and you have noticed a change, you have to learn how to love that new person.
Yes.
And he wasn't willing to do that. And it just, yeah. I mean, I told you guys last live that I was the one person that wanted to see Tamlin die in a hole. So I'm not a Tamlin fan anymore. But it just, rereading, it's definitely very easy to get mad at Lucien, but I totally agree with everything that you guys were saying. And I'm 10 chapters into Aqua War, and I'm seeing the Lucien that we all love dearly. So it's been fun.
Yeah. No, you mean, and I think the other thing too, it's sometimes I think now flipping to Rhys, because I think this is like the fun part. You read it the first time, you don't know what's going on with Rhys because he's keeping secrets, and there's this chick named Moore who's his cousin that looks nothing like him, and she's in a fancy dress and all this stuff, and it's just like and she's so bubbly of a person. I also love on the reread when they're sitting at the table and she's like, "Where were you under the mountain?" And Moore goes, "Oh, well, I was just in and then Rhys cuts her off so she doesn't say Valeris, and you can see more you can now, going on the lens of knowing what's going on with Rhys, you're like, it's really fun to kind of see how Moore is basically playing the like parent meeting the future lover type of situation, and also seeing Rhys try to show. It was so heartbreaking this time. I didn't notice it the second time, but the third time I did, where he shows her the map of the world, and he's like, "There's a war coming," and she's like, "Please, please, please don't attack the human lands," and he's like, "You really think I'm a monster?" Like, I just like broke down. I was like, "Feyre, no!" But I think that's fun the second time around. I don't know if anyone else had that reaction, or that's what I was trying to get at, but
I think what I like the most rereading it and knowing that not only is Moore playing this like thing, but she knows that Feyre is his mate. Like that whole dynamic of her being like, "So."
yeah.
Like, can you not?
Yeah.
Can you like actually not right now?
Yeah. And I also think it was interesting for Feyre, who had been in such a clear hierarchy situation in Spring, to see a High Lord, one of the most powerful High Lords, kind of not be treated in that instance. Like, Moore is poking fun at Rhys. She's, and he's teasing her back, and that I think was eye-opening for Feyre enough.
Yeah.
So
I think another spot is where he introduces Amryn. And he's like, and she's like, she's a woman. Like,
yes.
She kind of like has a moment, and she's like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Okay, well then, now I guess we should just go ahead and talk about Valeris and the Inner Circle and all that fun stuff. So, and if I skip anything that you guys want to talk about, just feel free. But the Inner Circle. So I'm going to be honest and say that I think TikTok hyped that up for me a little too much, because when I met them, I was like, oh, they were cool, but it isn't what TikTok led me to believe. I will say, in an unpopular opinion, I think actually meeting Kieran and From Blood and Ash was more exciting than meeting the Inner Circle, but I think the Inner Circle, that relationship lasted. Like, I feel more of a connection to them moving forward in books. But the first impression didn't hold weight. The second time around, it's so much better because all the dynamics. But I'm just curious, when you met the Inner Circle, what did you guys think? First time or second time?
I had no like TikTok input, because ACOTAR was genuinely like the first fantasy book that I really read. So I was like, everybody just kept recommending you read the book. So I had nothing. So I was pretty excited. You know, it was like my first found family, aside from like Harry Potter. But it was, I don't know, it was special getting to meet all of them. I personally loved it, and they rereading, and I felt this way when I reread Throne of Glass as well. But rereading just like felt like coming home to family.
Yes,
I don't know, I really loved it.
I would agree.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience to you, Caitlin, with like, because I read them before joining Book Talk, and so I didn't have any sort of anybody externally prepping me, I guess, or shepherding through the read. And so I loved that moment, like finally getting, and you're kind of like, you know, you hear them at the townhouse door and they're like arguing, whatever, and it was like, I just loved, I loved that. I love that dynamic. You don't know who they are, you don't know how they're going to be or anything. And then especially on rereads, as you said, Caitlin, like I think those moments where it's like you see little sparks of their personality come out in the little phrases and things that they say. And I think that's something SJM does so well, is making you care so deeply about side characters that a lot of authors don't do. They don't develop all of their side characters, where I feel personally invested in all of them.
Yeah. Really, any of them could potentially lead a story and we would all be totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Kate?
Yeah. I felt like the same way. I kind of felt like it's great to be back with the inner circle. I do think, I mean, in addition, this is true on the reread too, is specifically seeing Amren and being like, what are you? Why are you drinking blood? Why is everyone afraid of you? I was like certain tabbing like all these things like, but yeah, I agree with some of the comments and stuff. It's like the story doesn't really even start until you get to the inner circle. And I will say on the reread, something I loved, which I know Avery also loved, is when you're hearing these like side conversations that she's not really supposed to be hearing, you start hearing things like, what is it, Sangrava getting sacked or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be really freaking important in like 3 books, you know, like stuff like that I obviously did not catch on the first read, and I'm just like,
So I'm just mentioning this Sangrava thing just briefly, like that for me was when I heard it later in Silver Flames, I was like, wait a minute. They talked about that in Mist and Fury. And so I immediately like was back in this book, like, where is that? Da-da-da-da-da. And so, you know, I hyperfixate on any time Sangrava is mentioned, which is why I know that there's a Sangrava'ian rug in the House of Wind in Angkor.
So for anyone who's not catching what this conversation's about, it's about Gwen. Just in case anyone's wondering, that Sangrava mentioned in Mist and Fury is when Az goes to save Gwen. Technically, Az and Mor and Rhys, they all go, but Az is the first one there.
Already happened by the Inner Circle dinner. Like they're talking about it in the past.
Post, yeah. Mm-hmm. So for anyone wondering, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that. That is the reference to Gwen in Mist and Fury.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. The other, kind of to your point, Kate, so I did my, hold on, it's literally right behind me, so hold on a second. So I did my reread of Mist and Fury, like fully. I will tell you, I've been like, obviously, I mean, Avery knows this. These books are something where it's like, I'm no surprise to anyone here, a very chaotic reader. And so what I'll do is I'll read like 20 chapters of one book, and then we'll shift to a completely different Sarah J. Maas series and read about 30 chapters of that, and then go back to this and then read another 20 chapters in the span of like 6 months. And then I just repeat it every 4 months. So like, don't worry, I know this book, but I haven't done like an actual like one of these rereads in a while, and I'm saving it for right before Flame and Shadow, I'll be honest. But because it's me, I was looking for Amren the last time I did this, which believe me, the Wings and Ruin one's going to be way better for that. It's very interesting to kind of see Amren from it. She's a character people are suddenly going to be paying attention to now, and I have thoughts. But then the other one that I think is interesting that I think people should potentially pay attention to is Miriam and Draken.
Yeah.
That's a story that I think some people thought would just be a quick throwaway for Wings and Ruin for obvious reasons, but you know, they are on a misted island with people with feathery wings. So
The Seraphim?
The seraphim. The
It's their name.
Mhm.
Oh, they're called.
Uh-huh.
Just saying.
You mean the type of angel? I'm just throwing that out there. But so anyways, that is kind of a fun one. And yeah, the inner circle dinner is really I kind of forgot. Like in my head, it's like almost two separate things where it's like the beginning where it's like funny and like you see like the banter between everyone just like you see in front of the townhouse, like that type of stuff. And then all of a sudden I forgot how much backstory is in the inner circle dinner. It's like info dump after info dump after info dump after info dump. And so it's a really cool chapter to read because there's so much information thrown in there. And then the next chapter is Feyre having a nightmare. So it's like it's absolutely it's a fun one to kind of go back and look at, I would say.
We stand a nightmare trope up in here.
I love that we get both
Yeah.
types of nightmare tropes.
Yeah.
And then we get it again in Silver Flames. It's like, keep
that
giving
one's
it to me, please.
that one's a
one's
fun
good.
one.
That one's good.
That one's a good one.
I love a nightmare trope.
Okay, let me think. Anything else before we get to the Bone Carver? Bone Carver is in a few chapters after that. I think the only thing I want to bring up is this time around I noticed it the first time. I think I kind of noticed it the second time, but this time just kind of briefly reading it. The conversation that takes place right before the inner circle dinner between Rhys and Feyre, because Feyre has a thought about ending her life. And Rhys like grabs her. It's like one of the few times very early on that he grabs her and he's like, don't ever have that thought. And I just loved the way that Sarah executed that because I felt like it was impactful. It was very much like forceful, but also not like overly aggressive. But it clearly indicated that he wanted to stop everything in that moment, to make sure she knew, and to move on. And I thought that was beautifully done. So that's it. Okay, Bone Carver. Bone Carver is interesting to read after Silver Flames because someone has wings and Bone Carver does not have wings, but I also I'm of the opinion, I'm just going to say it. I'm of the opinion that the reason the Bone Carver did not have wings is because, let's be honest, Nyx is a child of Feyre and Rhys. Both Feyre and Rhys can shift wings away. I would be shocked if Nyx cannot remove his wings in some form or fashion, just like Rhys can. No matter if he's more Illyrian. I get that, but I'm just going to throw that out there. So,
I wouldn't doubt that.
Bone Carver's interesting. Some of it I can't say in this live until the very end, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
What do you got?
I want to pose that I don't think I can ask until the end.
Okay. We'll talk. How about this? We'll talk about the Bone Carver and the Weaver at the end.
I
Yeah.
was saying the Bone Carver is the only one that got a vertical clear
Like
tab,
WTF?
which I also had a shit ton of those in a different series.
Oh, Throne of Glass. Yeah, I believe that. Tower of Dawn.
Important things.
Yeah. I will say something. I called Avery at like 2:00 in the morning her time, and I was like, just throwing this out here. Amren in the chapter after the Bone Carver calls the Bone Carver his darkness, and it's capitalized, and she's like, what? And I was like, I'm just saying. I don't know what that means.
I'm
but,
pretty sure that what sounded more like a what?
Yeah, I'm just saying. The other
2:00 in the morning.
The other thing too is there's a theory going around, and I heard it, and I can't talk about all of it, but there's a theory that there's a way around the bargain between Rhys and Feyre.
Last night.
And I will say the person who posed the theory actually worded it incorrectly because it's a bargain, so you have to look at what the exact wording was of the bargain. But I do find it intriguing the way Feyre describes her death to the Bone Carver and where she goes, because it sounds an awful lot like another series with another person who's also in a pocket realm, who also may or may not be with someone with leathery wings. And I was like, is that what I think it is?
That's what I was wondering when I reread that, because like it was I was like,
yeah.
This is fishy. This is familiar.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
So much sometimes.
Oh, and the one thing, not spoilery. I just want to say, I I loved it the first time I read it. I love it every time I read it. I love that Amryn just throws a necklace at Feyre and says, "It'll give you good luck." And then at the end, she's like, "You can keep it." Like that is.
It's a brooch.
Is it a brooch? I always thought it was a necklace.
brooch.
Oh, see, that should have been one of your questions. I would have been like, "It's a necklace."
It's a brooch.
I thought it was a necklace.
I thought it was a necklace.
I'm pretty
too.
sure it's a brooch.
I'm pretty
No
sure it's a
way.
ruby
It's a
necklace.
It's the
It is a
necklace.
No, I don't think it's a
It's
ruby. I thought it was like white.
Okay, I got too cocky. Listen.
It's a necklace.
I know that Rhys gave it to her 200 years
Yes.
prior, though. I remember that.
Yes. Yes.
There's too many tabs. I don't
Oh,
know where it is.
Somebody's saying necklace in the comments.
Okay. It didn't pull up with brooch, so I'm gonna go with you're probably right.
I don't know why I remember that.
Because
Listen,
she wanted to throw it to her.
Listen, I know a lot of things, but I am not perfect.
You're allowed to.
First off, you know the carpet color of
I know.
the freaking House of Wind? Don't ask me that question about any of Aelin's houses. Don't. I could tell you what color her apartment was because Adian made a very sentimental comment about it, but like that's about it. I couldn't tell you if a wall color was a certain thing. I know that her room looks stupid extravagant, but I couldn't tell you what the bedding looks like. So you know random pieces of information that I would never. I would never.
know.
It's not ruby though. Oh, right. That's the summer court. I don't know why I thought it was a ruby. Okay. Well, moving to the summer court because I think that would be the next thing. Summer court's always a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I love the relationship between Tarquin and Feyre. Like it is what it's also, I love the beginning when they get there and Feyre's like, "You can't flirt with her." And he's like, "Well, you can't flirt with him." And they're like, "I'm going to flirt with whoever I want." Like both of them are, and I'm just like, just kiss. Like this is ridiculous.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I had to look up the necklace thing because I can't stand myself. It's a little gold amulet of pearl and cloudy blue stone. That is what it is.
Cloudy
You're
blue.
Cloudy blue stone.
It's nothing fancy about it. I'm not going to hyperfixate on that. Okay.
No, walk away from that.
it
It is an amulet. That is the official title.
Oh, we are. I forgot. Did Nesta and Cass meet before? Wait, hold on. I'll look at the plates. Did they meet before summer?
No.
Or they met
Yes.
after summer? Oh, they met before summer.
They meet before
They met
summer.
before
Oh,
summer.
we got to talk about that. I thought they met after summer.
No, they meet before summer because it's when he's still waiting on word from the summer court, and so they decide to go to the human lands.
Cassian.
And Feyre's pissed at him, which is why she flies with Asriel.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. I
And
do
then the
remember
story,
this.
the adder shows up. There's a whole thing.
Okay, we got to talk about all that. All right.
Yeah.
So first off, Cassian and Nesta meeting. Instant
Sorry, guys, I
chemistry.
wasn't paying attention. That's the problem.
Instant chemistry.
Oh yeah,
I love them so much.
I love them so
I
much.
cannot. The one question I would love to ask Sarah about ACOTAR is: at what point did you decide Nesta was not going to be with Lucien? Because she kept the flames on the cabinet for Lucien.
Mhm.
I think it was at some point in the first book, but like when was it Cassian? Because I'm like, hello.
I think she wrote Cassian and went, oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
because
Yeah.
she describes him as like wind something and flames. Like he is described as that.
God, they're so good together. I just love the line that Cassian is, first off, for anyone who doesn't remember, Cassian is the one that calls Nesta out for making her youngest sister take care of them.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is so good.
It's so good.
It's like done in a very like sexy way too, which I know it wasn't intended to, but it was like, you want to play, girl? Well, let's talk about this and then we can play. Like, oh, so good. I love them.
So the first time I read it, I think I was so invested in Rhys and Feyre that like I didn't care. I didn't catch it. But like now on the reread, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
Right.
It's been going on.
Yeah.
My friend was annoyed with me because I was like, okay, but like Nesta and Cassian every time. And she was like, I'm sorry, Avery. Like, but Rhys and Feyre. And I'm like, I know, but they're fine. Nesta and Cassian.
Yeah, no.
Mhm.
It's
And I had read it. I picked up ACOTAR pre-TikTok on like late December of 2020. And so like I was very lucky and also unlucky in that like I joined the ACOTAR fandom when I did, so I only had to wait like 3 weeks for Silver Flames. But also like I didn't have any bonus chapters. I didn't know anything about that, like nothing. And so, you know, that's how I ended up paying a stupid amount of money for an Azrael bonus chapter. It's fine.
I was trying to see if I could find it. I don't think I can't find the exact time that I like tabbed it, but I will say, so someone bringing up the bonus chapter. So that is something that I would say, if you have not read the Wings and Ember bonus chapter, it's Bloomsbury published it, so you can read it. It is so good. And I remember reading it just before Silver Flames came out, and that there's a line in there about how Nesta feels so much, she has to feel nothing. And I instantly grabbed onto it and was like, oh, we're besties. Like,
Yep.
that one line is how I know we're besties. Like, and that is a really cool thing to kind of see, because it explains Nesta's previous relationships, and you find out Cassian's reaction to that, which is very intimidating to a character like Nesta, because she doesn't really know him. And he instantly is like, who do I gotta kill? And she's like, hold on, I don't know you, and you are of a creature that I don't like, so please back away. Like, it's a very it's a really cool thing to read. I don't know where it is off the top of my head in terms of like where it fits in the story, but I could tell you, because there's a line that indicates like there's a line that says like Cassian goes back to Valeris and he's like pissed off, and that it's the chapter before. That's where this bonus content is inserted. So
Wings and Embers.
Wings and Embers.
I also, Feyre says something very similar to Cassian, like that. When they're on the bridge right before they get attacked.
Yes.
She's saying like how she's like thanking him for what he said, but that he needs to understand that Nesta is a certain way, and that was a similar description.
Yeah. She's the best.
I was gonna say, I haven't read that. I haven't read
so
the bonus thing, but which I need to read apparently.
Okay,
I'm
But I was just
texting it to you right now.
Yeah.
Send it to me. But it was definitely like, I think this read, it's like so many people were like, well, I hated Nesta forever. It's like, I think we were supposed to not like Nesta in the first one, but in this one, especially on the reread, it was like, oh my God, I know she was angry, but like seeing that Feyre telling Cassian, like, she is gonna, it means so much to her that you were like willing to defend like Elaine and tell her like that you're going to defend the humans. Like, that's so important to her, seeing her stand up to the queens and being like, you need to come and help these people. Like, you cannot abandon us. Like, even when they first showed up and she was like, you can't come in here, like trying to keep Elaine safe from like potential fallout from like the other humans. Like, the whole time she is so guarded, but she is so much trying to like protect Elaine and like keep the family safe. And I just like, I just love her so much.
Kate, you should have it in your phone now, by the way.
I'm trying to see.
Wait, send it to me too.
I'll send it to you. First off, I have a Google link with all the bonus chapters, including the Crown of Midnight with Nehemia and Selena. So you guys can just have. Oh yeah. Okay, quickly, just a quick rundown. These are all the bonus chapters. So in Throne of Glass, there's a Crown of Midnight one between Nehemia and Selena, which is like actually really cute to read.
I sent it to you too, Caitlin.
Then there is the Empire of Storms bonus chapter where Aelin and the crew are going to Terrasen. Then there's the Empire of Storms bonus chapter with the Airfire deleted scene, my favorite. Then there's the Empire of Storms, Nezrin and Kale going to the Southern Continent. Then there is the Court of Mist and Fury, Wings and Ember, Azrael bonus scene, Facean bonus scene, House of Sky and Breath, Tharian, Bryce and Hunt, and then Rune. Those are all of them. I'll send you the doc.
Yeah. I'm gonna want that.
By the way, for anyone else, it's linked in Discord. It's in our SJM resources. Like, all of it is in there. I will quickly just like as a caveat say we don't in the Discord share bonus chapters if it's currently available for order. So for instance, like the Facean one, we don't link that one because you can buy it right now at Barnes & Noble. It's fine. So no, the Azrael one is the one that's worth reading, let me tell you. But that's the one that you're like, hold on. Anyone
in
wondering?
case you were wondering, the Azrael bonus chapter in Silver Flames falls just after chapter 58. You're welcome.
The other, and I will tell you in regards to the Hosab ones, kind of off topic, there is somewhat of an order you should read them in because there goes my Mist and Fury. It's fine. Two of them tie together. So it's kind of funny. If you read it's not like it matters, but one is a certain character's sister arrives, and then the other one is the aftermath of her arrival. So like it's kind of funny if you read them in order.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we ever find out why the human queens can winnow?
Not to my
Am I
knowledge.
like brain farting on that?
Why do I think it's because I do know that when the treaty was made, there was certain magics they were allowed to
Oh,
have.
that's right. That's
Caitlin's
right.
got
That's
it.
right. It did
Caitlin's
say
got
that.
it.
It did say that.
I was like, Caitlin's got it.
It was a gift from the Fae that fought with them in the war. It was a gift from them.
So is that just like whoever is queen always has that ability? That's like so weird. Okay.
I think
I
so.
guess.
Like, maybe
it
it
would've
passes
passed
down
down.
your line.
It was a star, a kernel of power, as Sarah likes to describe. What? That's exactly what it's called. It's like a kernel, a star-like kernel of power.
God almighty.
I'm not even making that up.
You are.
Okay, all right, sorry. We went on topic about Nessian. But it is really kind of cool to go
Is
back
it?
and
Is it off topic?
no, because we love them.
Okay,
love them.
I think I'm in the minority.
You don't like
I am
Nessian.
in the
I know
minority.
that.
I don't like Nesta, but I hate her.
Let me tell you
However,
why, because she's also a Taurus, and that's why Ashley
we're all
Ashley falls under the some Tauruses, they either really like each other, they can't stand each other. Ashley falls on the line of I can't stand her. Not
Yeah,
surprised.
you got 2 Tauruses, 2 Aquariuses, and then Caitlin, what are you?
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Okay,
Yeah, me and Katie.
So air, earth, and water
perfect.
covered.
But what I was gonna say is I will give it to you guys on the reread. I do think you notice a lot more of those
Yeah.
pieces of Nesta that where she's more vulnerable or more like protective. I think because I do care mostly about Rhys and Feyre that I just have a very hard time forgiving.
No, that's fair.
Like, why is she so protective of Elaine and not Feyre? Like it just drives me nuts.
It doesn't
But
make any sense. It made no
when
this-
she's the youngest too.
Yeah,
so
there's a sister dynamic
Mhm.
issue going on in terms of like they all expected the youngest to take care of them. Nesta did nothing. Elaine, for some reason, is the coddled middle child by both the youngest and the oldest. That's
Elaine
gonna blow
should have
up.
been the youngest, and I'll stand by that. But
agree.
I don't know. I feel like if Nesta had tried to like coddle Feyre, she would have been like, "Get the fuck away from me."
Because I think Nesta and Feyre, I mean, it says it. Nesta and Feyre are 2 sides of the same coin. Like they're very, very similar personalities. I think
Well,
Nesta's
and
just
Feyre
harsher.
is feral. Like that's
Yeah.
how Nesta describes her. Is Feyre was like a feral thing that she didn't know what to do with, and then she's like less than a year apart from Elaine, so they were like raised together. So it's just it's Mama Archeron's fault.
Let's be honest.
is.
Feyre was the oops baby. Like she was the oh god, didn't mean to have that one child. And
Whoops.
it showed. It showed because
Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Caitlin.
When I read the books for the first time, I missed the part where Elaine was the middle child. I thought Elaine was the baby.
Yeah, because she reads like the baby.
Well, who do you think this
the
is the fun part. Who do you think's the oldest? Have we talked about this? Who's the oldest and the youngest? Or who's oldest to youngest from Rhys, Cassian, and Azriel? If you know the answer, don't say. But it is fascinating.
I don't know, but my biggest thing is the fact that Rowan is like half their age, and that just feels that's like saying Adele and Taylor Swift are the same age. It's fucking weird.
Wait, they are?
It's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's the same vibes. I don't like it.
Okay, who do you think's the oldest? Who do you think's the youngest? Who do you think's the middle? I was shocked. I'll tell you
I'm
that
not
much.
allowed to say.
Yeah.
I think Cassian is the oldest. No.
Yeah, I would say Cass as,
Mhm.
and then Rhys is the youngest, is what
Yeah.
I would guess. But they're within a couple years, and when you're 500 years old, does it really matter?
It is the correct answer is it is Azriel, Cassian, and then Rhys.
I mean, Rhys being the youngest makes sense. I feel like he's.
I
trying
was
to
shocked.
compensate for a
I thought
lot.
I thought Rhys was the oldest. I was like,
Oh, no.
what?
I knew Rhys wasn't the oldest. What shocked me was Asriel was older than Cassian, but then I thought back about how he'd been like trapped for 11 years of
Yes.
his life, and I was like, oh, that
Right.
makes
That
sense.
makes
And I mean, they're all like within like a year
or two
of
apart.
each other. Yeah.
And more, we don't know her age, but I would assume she's close to Rhys because she
They-
was married off.
She's what,
She's gotta
17
be younger. I
when
think
she
she's
sleeps
older.
with Cassian?
Right, she's younger, but they're close in age. Like they're all very, very close in age.
Yeah,
And Amren's like 15,000 years old or something.
Correct.
That's
and
right.
then
15,000
Tamlin's
is the
what,
correct
200
answer.
something?
What?
Tamlin's like 200 something.
So
and then
Tam-
Lucian's really
Yeah,
young, right?
Tamlin
So-
and Lucien are around the same.
So here's the mind F that I like recently came to realize.
Moore is 536 in Akamath.
Well, you're basing that off of the wiki. I don't really trust.
I mean, I can do the math if you want me to.
No. That's not my point. But this is the mind F that I recently came to realize. So I think Tamlin and Rhys are somewhat close in age because both of them fought in the original war. But Tamlin was a little too young to like totally fight in it. So he's just a little younger than Rhys, but not by much. Lucien wasn't even born yet. And Eris did fight in the original war. Well, yeah, because Lucien was born in that original war. So Lucien should technically not have been born.
No,
And
he wasn't born yet.
yeah, because he was created during that war. So
Tamlin didn't fight in the war.
no, but I'm
all.
saying he's close
But he was-
enough.
Yeah,
he was close enough to.
there.
Yeah, he's close enough in age to like not be old enough to fight, but he wasn't a child. Like
No,
he was probably like a teenager.
If we're talking about the wiki, they're saying he's 507. So he's about 20 years younger than Rhys.
That's
Asriel
what I was
Cassian.
thinking. I was
Yeah.
thinking it's like
7
young.
years old is a child to me.
Well, but I'm saying like I think he's young enough to where he can't participate, but he was obviously old enough to remember, like retain memory of what was going on. So he's younger, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then Eris, which is the part that I really kind of get a little frazzled by, could potentially be older than Rhys.
Yeah.
We don't know how old Eris is,
No.
but he could be anywhere from way older than Rhys or close to Rhys's age because he was betrothed to a 17-year-old. We don't know at what age do they betroth the men in the Autumn Court. We know at what age they betroth the women. But that is where my mind was like, I'm so sorry. What?
Yeah.
I think the only High Lords that were like old would have been Baron and Helion.
Yeah, but I question Helion because Helion became High Lord under the mountain. So
Wait,
Did he?
I thought
Really?
no. I thought it was Tarquin.
it was
It's
day, summer, and winter. All rebelled.
Oh yeah, they were all killed
Right.
off.
Yeah.
So he would have all of their High Lords were
Oh, so he wasn't High Lord then.
I'm pretty sure all of the High Lords were
No, I think you're
killed,
right. I think you're right.
And they all but Callias, maybe? I don't know. That one's that whole thing is still I still have to think about that one a lot. And my brain melted today. So but
I didn't even think about that. Okay, well,
yeah, I'm pretty
anyways,
sure. Yeah,
that's okay. Okay, I'm like, what?
Daddy is a state of mind.
I'm sorry. It said Daddy Helion isn't really Daddy age, and I said Daddy is a state of mind.
In
But
my
Daddy is a
eyes,
state of mind.
wow. Okay, all right. That kind of. We've had a lot of conversations, Avery and I. Avery's like, yesterday I was like in the car and I was like, so this means, and she was like, why are you hyper fixating on that? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm just now realizing like what this means. And she's like, this is the stupidest conversation we've had for 10 minutes. And I was like, listen, and by the way, it was about whose suggestion it was for Lucien to get his eye fixed. I hyper fixated on that for like 20 minutes in the
She
car.
was like, could it be Helion? Could it be Thesis?
Because
Could
I just-
Helion have talked him into
because
it?
I just this is literally we had this conversation about how old everyone was during this war, and I literally was like, okay, so hold on, I'm just now thinking. So Helion or Lucien gets his eye removed, and she's like, yeah, like under the mountain. So I'm like fast forwarding time, and Avery can follow my craziness, okay? And she's like, Yeah. And I was like, okay, so it doesn't sound to me like it was Tamlin that suggested, hey, let's fix your eye. Tamlin's the type of guy that would have been like, here's a patch, figure it out. Like that, you know? So then I was like, okay, they're all under the mountain. No one's really can get out. We know that eye was made by Dawn. Like, we know that. And I'm like, you know, we know that solar courts are closer tied than, you know, the seasonal courts. And I'm like, it doesn't really seem like something Tamlin would have done. Potentially Eris if there was a motivation to do it. And I was like, oh my God, it was the Lady of Autumn. The Lady of Autumn is the one that went to Helion and said, listen, like because Helion doesn't like the brood. He doesn't like the Autumn Court brood, but he probably would do something for the Lady of Autumn. And I spent 20 minutes going down this rabbit hole.
At what she talked herself in circles, and at one point I said, okay, but like, why do we care?
Because I just care. I
I genuinely, I think was just trying to figure out like if you were actually going somewhere with it, or if you were just hyperfixating.
No, it's the same. It's the same thing as, and I'll share it when we finish when we say like, okay, full spoilers. I suddenly realized what the timeline was.
Oh God, the Today talk
for the Flame and Shadow, and I was like, oh my God! I got like so excited about the potential, which I will talk about when we get to the end because it's heavy spoilers, but I got way too excited. And everyone's like, why do you care? And I was like, because the possibilities are endless right now. And I'm rereading Frost and Starlight. I can tell you that tonight. That's what I'm rereading tonight because I got way too excited. Okay, anyways, we were talking about summer. So anything else about summer? We've been kind of skipping around about summer. At this point, is there anything, I'm going to open the floor. Is there anything that we want to talk about before I just keep going down the book? Is there like a scene that we got to talk about this?
I guess we can talk about it later. I think when she goes to get the book, things that she sees, the way that some of the wards are, it's just very interesting.
See, I haven't hyperfixated on that yet, so that's it.
Oh, this is good. Caitlin, what have you done to my tomorrow?
Oh,
it's fine. It's fine.
The wards are good,
but also enjoy it.
But also, like, I marked when she first went to enter the, like, was it like a shack or whatever that's like in the water?
Yes.
And she was like, I am like your master. Like, this is who I am. She actually like transformed into him. Like, I didn't realize that on the first read, but she said like literally her hands and everything. She literally like
Dorian.
fully transformed into him. And I was like, I didn't catch that on the first read. And I was like, what? And so like the time when she did her wings with Lucien later, that wasn't the first time she
I had no idea.
shapeshifted.
That tells you when I read that scene, I'm too anxious. I'm like, let's just get the book and go.
I did not. It was like one paragraph, like maybe 3 sentences. And I was like, wait, did she do that? Because I didn't catch it the first time.
This is the same thing as, this is not a spoiler for Crescent City, but there's obviously wolf shifters in that book. And at one point I called Avery and I was like, did you know that Ethan shifted into a wolf and knocked everything over in Bryce's apartment? And she goes, are you just now realizing that? It's been out for 8 months, Sarah. And I was like, yeah, I thought he was not a wolf. Okay, got it. This is
okay, I got it. I got this.
So she turns into Tarquin?
Okay.
Yeah, it says, she says, I am Tarquin, I am summer, I am warmth, I am sea and sky and planted field. I became every smile he'd given me. It became the crystalline blue of his eyes, the brown of his skin. I felt my own skin shift, felt my bones stretch and change until I was him. It was a set of male hands I now possessed and now pushed against the door.
So wait, did she look like Tarquin the entire
she
time?
She literally transformed into him. The page 349.
This is kind of messing with my whole vision of what she looked like because I thought
it was like, I think she changed back as soon as she got inside.
I think she does.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. The next page, 350. I shifted back into my own skin.
Yeah.
I did not catch that the first time. It was really quick.
Know that.
Didn't know crazy. Which also, like, I would love to see that later. Like, how easy would it be able to get in places?
I love how Kate is still moving on, and I
Dorian or something.
I love how Kate is
like, hey.
I love how Kate is like still moving on, and I'm like, wait, so she just turned into Tarquin in front of Amryn. No wonder the wings were so easy for her. Like,
and Amryn doesn't bat an eye.
Why did we never use this again?
Doesn't.
Why do we use it for Dorian?
She should use this power.
Well, she used it for Ianthe. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. But like multiple times. Damn. Yeah, she really is Harry Potter Apologies Potion vibes. Damn.
Yeah.
It's giving.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something.
Okay. All right. I swear, this is very similar to me to like the masks in ACOTAR. I just erase them from my brain. I'm like, oh.
I don't know what I erased. I erased that there were like fairies with like blue skin. Like
Yes.
When I read that, the first one was like, well, when I reread it, I was like, what? Like completely just gone. Gone.
I forget that there are fairies in general that don't look like us. Every time I read this, and it's a thing. I mean, even in Frost and Starlight, the space that Feyre rents is from a fairy that has blue skin, and then obviously Alice looks like a tree, and I think that's what makes the TV show so cool, because I hope they show that, because it really just opens the world into a totally different landscape. But
I'm just gonna say it because there's three of us talking about it in the comments. That Feyre's situation is giving Dorian. Like it's giving Dorian.
So many opportunities.
Sarah, we have to bring it up since we're all three of us are in the comments like, yes, of course.
You cannot wait. This is totally unhinged. But now, because we're bringing up Dorian, I can say this. I would love for the day that Feyre shows up looking like Rhys, and she's like, let's do it. And Rhys is like, excuse me? like it gives me like Khloe Kardashian running after Scott Disick, like wearing something around her waist and like running. And he's like, I'm not. And she's like, well, come on. Like, that happened at least once.
My God.
At least once.
Ashley's like, please don't do this to my man.
Well, you brought up Dorian, and that's the first thing I think of with Dorian.
Sorry.
So,
She changes into a man. How is that not?
how does she not look? I would have looked.
I know. These are important questions.
I have to leave. Why does this keep happening to me?
Okay, well, anyways, Court of Nightmares.
The best.
Wait, okay, quick
Great
question.
scene.
Okay, where does everyone stand? Court of Nightmares, the end, chapter 55. What's
Court
the
of
best?
Nightmares.
Court of Nightmares.
Court of
What are
Nightmares.
nightmares?
If you're a dark romance girly,
Court of Nightmares.
Nightmares.
Yeah, Court of Nightmares.
Actually, it's chapter 54, probably, not 55.
I love chapter 54.
I called it.
Sentimental.
I like chapter 54
hopeless
as much as
romantic.
the next person.
Nah.
Yeah,
Court of
Nightmares.
Nightmares.
I'm a
literally-
54 stan, but on my at first, like, I loved 55, and like, if you asked me that 2 years ago, I would have said 55. On my reread, I think I'm a Court of Nightmares girl.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
It's no one's an in girly. No one's an in girly.
Okay, but I get the in lovers because some of us love a like one bed
One bad
in
trope.
Well,
Yeah.
the inn also gave like from Blood and Ash vibes, or like a Kingdom of Flesh and Fire vibes. Like it's
Nah,
pretend kind of.
JLA did better with that. Sorry, Sarah.
Mm.
That was the one time.
for a whole book.
That was the one time I'll give it to JLA.
I literally right before this call re-listened to chapter 54 because I love that chapter so
Listen,
much.
No,
And
but I'm not.
hopeless romantic.
I'm not talking.
romance.
I'm not talking about 54. I'm talking 55, the inn, or the Court of Nightmares.
The spice.
I should
is
take
my
chapter
answer.
55 out.
Yeah, you can't answer 54. 54 is just like
Yes, I can.
No,
that-
you can't.
Ashley's not going to answer this question. But like I would agree, like I will say, even when I read it the first time, like 55 was not like, I was like, it was great, like it was fun, whatever. But I agree 54 stood out to me, which is why it was so confusing when everyone talked about 55. I was like, okay, 54. But
Yeah.
Court of Nightmares, that's the scene. Like that was
I love the power that you see. Like that's the
That's
first
what
time
I'm
you really see
saying.
Rhys like release his power,
Oh,
And
So
oh my god, I was like, okay.
But I think
No, okay, but it's not even just Rhys. It's Cass and Asriel walking in with their 7 siphons.
Yes!
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's
true.
just
And I'm
so
like,
much power.
I think also the reason I love 54 or I'm sorry, the Court of Nightmares is it has nothing to do with like what Rhys is doing to Feyre actually. I mean, it's great, but it's nothing to do with that. It has to do with the angst in that chapter about how
Yeah.
everyone is trying to cover up the fact of what's actually going on. And so, like, Feyre is bowing to Rhys, like, panicking at all these evil people. Rhys is playing this role, but he's panicking that he's scaring Feyre. Like, Cassian and Az are playing a certain role. Mor is doing this. And then freaking, I already forgot his name because I can't stand him, but Mor's father, Keir comes in and he makes a stupid-ass comment, and then Rhys loses his mind. And then
he
Feyre's
breaks
like
his arms.
yeah, and Feyre's like, what? Like, that's the thing that annoyed her. And it wasn't even that he broke his arms, but she's like, bestie, that was a little too much for me. Like, why are you doing that for my behalf? And it's like, Feyre, honey, this is what we call a mating bond. That is being very much at its end, okay? But
Yeah.
like, which I think is what makes the Court of Nightmares chapter, the post Court of Nightmares chapter interesting, because Rhys is so frustrated with Feyre because she can't make a decision, and he finally asks her, like, what do you want? And she's like, why are you asking me this? Like, this is coming very intense and we're not in a relationship. And he's like, okay, I'm just gonna take you home. I'm over you. Like, I think that's what makes my angsty heart loves that part. But I will tell you, when I read The Court of Nightmares the first time, when the doors opened and Rhys showed up, it was the one time, I swear to God, that my mom was like, it's dinner time, we're all going to eat together. So you bet your ass. And 3 months later, when she read the chapter, I made her sit down for an hour and enjoyed the torture I went through, because I was like, and she's a Rhys girly, okay? So I was like, oh, you going to wait?
Mama
My
Rosebud
parents
and I
did
are
the-
kindred spirits.
My parents did the same thing to me, because I read all of ACOTAR on a Sunday, and then I in the middle of reading ACOTAR ordered the rest of the books because I had purchased the book forever ago, and it sat on my shelf for way too long. And my mom, I'm like sitting on the couch reading, and he literally goes, "Hello, Feyre, darling," and my mom goes, "Dinner," and I was like,
So,
right now.
Ashley, you would think my mom and you would be kindred spirits, but if you ask her what her favorite book in the ACOTAR series is, she would say the one where the paintings fall off the walls, because that's what she remembers, which would be Frost and Starlight. She doesn't even know the name of the book. She just says the one where the paintings fall off the walls.
That's chapter 22 of Frost
I
and
don't
Starlight
even know because I didn't care, but that is what she would tell you.
Oh my god.
If we're gonna talk about paintings on walls, can we talk about how weird it is that she painted the
The
freaking
eyes.
cabin? I don't care
Oh,
if
yeah.
she's a good painter or she's a bad painter. If you are like staying at a friend's house, you don't paint all the walls.
It was
That is so weird.
well, I couldn't get over the eyes. To me, I was like, okay, that's a choice. The hair. Why the hair?
Rapunzel.
I think
Are
this
we
is why the fandom makes so much fun of the painting, just in general, that she's a bad painter as canon and like all these things, because it is odd.
It's very odd.
Like all of her painting choices are pretty odd.
I think what's interesting is that she chooses to paint Amren's eyes first, which I understand because her eyes are so like weird. But like then Mor comes in and Mor's like, okay, then paint mine. Now paint Cassian. Now paint Ezra. I'm like, Mor,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Why?
Why are you encouraging this?
Also, like, this is where I'm really interested to see what Feyre's painting looks like in the TV show, because, like, I really can't wait for us to see Feyre's self-portrait just hanging up behind Rhys. Because when I heard that, I was like, oh, number one, I know you didn't want to do that, and Rhys made you do that. And number two, okay, that's a choice. Like,
Uh-huh.
But I just don't understand why she even painted the house, because the house is like
doesn't make any sense.
has like all the abilities that like the House of Wind has. Like she literally could have been like, yo, give me some paint supplies, give me some canvases, and she could have
Exactly.
painted. Like it gives you
Right.
whatever you want. And instead she just chose to paint the walls. I don't know.
Well,
She's-
not only
she's
that, but she
Rapunzel.
like scrounged around for the paint.
Yeah, she
And
found
she's
it.
like, where's paint? I'm like, seriously?
Just
I
ask
would
to
like a
help.
bonus chapter of the cabin being sentient like the House of Wind and giving some opinions about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
plans.
If I'm gonna be honest, I
The
think
cabin, the
Feyre.
art critic.
I think
Someone said Kate is mad. I am literally an interior designer. That's what I went to school for. So I don't know why people are painting walls without some like.
I was gonna say. I will say. I
You
think.
need some overall vision.
I
here,
think
guys.
that cabin would say being painted was the least traumatic thing that has probably happened in that cabin. But like, it is also like that. Wait, oh, I almost said a spoiler. Can't wait for a certain character to see the paint on the walls.
Oh my God.
They're gonna be
No.
like, what WTF is this?
But like, can we also just talk about Rhys's reaction? Because he like
Taking
smells the
photos.
paint and he like walks in and he just kind of looks around.
But
The reaction, my guy, like, is it good? Is it bad? What's happening?
he's
here?
like, oh,
And
you
he's like-
were busy. Got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's really like what he says.
okay. He's like, we're gonna need to prime this later and just paint it.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
could you imagine if she came back up to the cabin? You know what's gonna be great is when Nyx gets old enough to paint and ruins everything, so we will have to like put a fresh base on it. Yeah, that's a
God,
choice. But I will say, I actually enjoyed. Which, quick note, a quick TikTok note. At one point last year, there was a company that was advertising, like literally paying TikTok to advertise their art like thing, where the idea was like it was couples art. So they would like send you a canvas and the idea was like you clothed, okay, were supposed to like roll around on it and it would make like an abstract piece of art that you would like hang up, which by the way, I'm not gonna lie, would love to hear someone do this and then explain to someone when they come over like, oh, where's that from? Oh, it's just me and my husband rolling around. Like it's just like a whole thing. And I stitched the TikTok that was sponsored by TikTok that was paid, they paid TikTok to post this. And I was like, oh, has BookTok seen this yet? And it got removed. It got removed. It's like the one time I got like a violation because it was like sexual content. And I was like, they're paying you. I just said, has BookTok seen this? Like, I'm helping the company. Sorry, that was a quick side note, but every time I read 55, I think of that, and I'm like, that was a missed opportunity.
There's an ad that I see on Facebook that is literally, it's an ad for like a couple's activity book. And the ad is like a girl and a guy in like their boxers and bra and underwear. And they're literally like covered in paint.
Yes.
I commented Katie on this and I was like, have you seen this? Like somebody who's been reading ACOTAR, and then like that comment got like a whole bunch of like likes on it. It literally, I see it like at least once a week on Facebook.
It's the why, like, and it is. It's called Love is Art. Like, I just could not get it. I was like, you're marketing to the wrong audience. Like, let me tell you, that would sell out if the ACOTAR audience saw that. It would sell out instantly. Also, so. One thing I want to say about this book. So some people tab spice. I don't at all. However, there is only one thing I tabbed in 55, and I wanted to read it really quick. It's really quick, I promise. And I tabbed this right before Silver Flames came out. So that's why I'm like, and I'm very proud of it. I posted it on Instagram. Hold on, let me find it. 54. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Not gonna read that part. Okay, so I think the light poured out of me might have been starlight, or maybe my own vision fractured. Oh, can't read that. Blah, 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 blah. When we were done, I remained on top. He says we might have to find a way to put a damper on that light. I can keep the shadows hidden easily enough. And then he says, basically, this is the first time it's mentioned that it's called Starlight. A Feyre glowing. So I had a massive tab that just says, oh no, it says Starlight.
It says Starlight.
It says
on her
Starlight.
Instagram.
It says it's on my Instagram, but I just like to point out that I tabbed that in 2021.
Really proud of you.
You're welcome. That's the only thing I want to say about 50. That's the only thing I've tabbed in a spicy chapter. So hence me being like,
You know what I tabbed in the spicy chapter?
what did you tab? Oh, I'm gonna enjoy
tabbed-
this.
I tabbed that she wasn't taking birth control. And I commented about it. I thought it was hilarious that he's such a consent king, and he's like, you are not expected to bear me anything.
Ashley, I can't.
I mean, that's in like really good contrast to Tamlin though, because Tamlin was literally, I think they were
Right?
literally saying like, you're gonna have heirs, and it's like, what is she
That's
gonna
what
do?
I'm
Sit at home and
saying.
just have a bunch
Yes,
of babies? Like,
that's what I
no,
Anthony
her.
wanted
Lady
her to
of
do.
fucking autumn.
Yeah, the lady of autumn. Are you gonna tap Silver Flames, Ashley?
I did. I have
Oh.
all of
There's just
All
not
of
a lot of
the-
tabs in that one.
this. Where
Meanwhile,
Silver
Avery's
Flames
tabs
is
in
up
Silver
there.
Flames are excessive, and then at the very top, it's all of the spice.
I was gonna say this is my notes, so these are like my, and some of them are stupid things. Like one of them says Illyrians have rounded ears. WTF? Like some of these are really stupid notes, and some of them are helpful. But yeah, it's this is I've tabbed this book and then Akatar. I've not tabbed Wings and Ruin because I got exhausted. I did it all in a month, and it was not something I'd recommend.
This is. I feel like this was when we were all reading. It
This is
together
Avery's Silver Flames,
and tabbed.
and this is all of the spice.
Psychopath. Listen, at work they wanted me to like tell them their spiciest book to like have a bunch of dudes read. So I called Avery and I was like, I haven't tabbed this, so tell me all the spicy chapters in Silver
called me
Flames.
At work, and I just rattled them off. to
Yeah,
her.
so I was like,
didn't even have access.
and
to
let
my
me
book.
tell you, the video's hysterical. I have like the rough drafts of some of them, but in one of them, one of the guys was reading this. He was like, and then he says, "Did that just say wings?" And I was like, "Keep going, okay."
Just move on.
He was like, "But that says, are we talking angel?" And I was like, "No, like leathery
it's a
demon
very-
wings."
It's a very specific kink. Just move on.
And he was like, "I have so many questions." And I was like, "Just keep reading. This isn't even like he's shirtless right now. Keep reading." Like it was really funny. But anyways, okay. So we talked about 55. Oh, really quick, my favorite part about 55 is 56, which is when they land. Cassian's like, "Hey, how's it going? Ready?" And Rhys is like, "Let's go." I still to this day resent Sarah for never letting Rhys get the payback he deserves for Cassian with Nesta. Like that was the one thing I wanted, is I wanted the reverse of Rhys being like, "Now it's my turn." Like, and I never got that.
Yeah, no, instead they went and had an off-page snowball fight where basically Asriel and Rhys were pummeling each other with snowballs because they were both pissed off at each other after the Solstice bonus chapter, and Cassian won by default because he's just sitting there thinking about Nesta. Like, that's my headcanon.
Why has no one written that? Because it's so funny to think about. Like the two of them pissed off at each other about Elaine, and also Rhys has his own issues about what's going on with Feyre, and then you have Cassian who's like, "I'm in the best place in my life right now."
Can we also talk about how there was, I believe it was when he was fighting with Cassian, how he was letting off power, like, because in
Mhm.
this kind of described how another person.
Mhm. It's exactly
Power.
described the same way.
Yeah, just some food for thought.
Yeah, this is also why whenever we bring up powers, I'm like, I'm sorry. There's two characters in the entire Surgery Maas universe who were so powerful they had to just kind of like beep, sprinkle it out every once in a while. And one of them was trapped in a horrible situation, and when they finally got freed, they literally almost exploded an entire field. So just throwing that out there, I think it's pretty obvious. Just saying, like. But anyways, just an idea. Okay, let me think. What happens after 55? 55.
We go to Hybern.
Hybern. Yeah, that sucks.
We meet the Mortal Queens again. Valaris gets attacked, and then we go to Hybern.
I will tell you. I
order of
think
events.
does anyone want to talk about the attack on Valaris? I feel like it was just really cool to read.
it's just cool. I think I love how she uses her water wolves, and I love how she
Mhm.
takes the adder down.
Oh wait, actually there is one thing I want to talk about this, because this is Payback, and this was Payback that took almost 8 months to get, okay? Caitlin
very
knows
nervous.
what I'm about to say because she saw me drunk off my ass fighting for this, okay?
Oh.
So we were
sad.
we were in Nashville. Caitlin, Ashley, and then Katie, who's not in the live right now, and Taylor, one of our friends. We were all in, and I was drunk, and I was dressed as Rowan. It was a boyfriend night. We all dressed as our book boyfriends. There
I
are.
was Reese.
She was Reese. We will have to do this again for Flame and Shadow. I'm just going to be honest.
Yes.
It's literally
Great.
I had the organizer come, and she was like, "What is this?" And she picked up my Rowan wig, and I was like, "Oh, we can't get rid of that." Like, we cannot get rid of the Rowan wig. Like, the Rowan
my
wig is
God.
stained. And she was like, okay. And just kind of like tucked it in a drawer. And I was like, yeah. And then she found the Rowan t-shirts. And I was like, oh, we can't get rid of those. And she was like, I'm like, that goes with the wig. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so quick side note. So we were drunk and we got into an argument. I was very tipsy. And there's only 2 times when Sarah her stubbornness comes out so intensely. One is if I've seen a theory so many times that it drives me up a wall. Rowan and Lydia's rings. Or if it is I'm drunk and I just, at this point, my censorship is gone. So we got on this topic, and it was an argument about, were Rhys and Feyre married? And I said, no, there's only one married couple, and it's from another series. And everyone's like, no, they got married during the High Lord ceremony. And I said, no, they didn't. They got married after they did like a ring exchange, and it was behind the scenes and we didn't see it, and that was it. Everyone told me I was wrong. Everyone was like, nah. And I was like, no, I'm right. At some point during my tipsy stage, I knew to back off.
I have this on video.
But I was convinced I was right. Okay, at the time I didn't know Avery, okay? So then 6 months later, I'm friends with Avery, and I ask Avery, were Rhys and Feyre married? And what did you say?
No.
She said no. And I was like, oh, hold on. So I put everyone in a group chat, and I said, I just want Avery to say this so you all can understand how right I was. So one time I got super, super stubborn.
And it turns out you were right.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often with ACOTAR, I'm going to be honest, but I was right about that. And that was really funny. So
I mean, I double checked myself before I told you no, because I was like, I'm pretty sure it's a no, but I'm gonna check. And I checked, and then I was like, yeah, no, it's a no.
I hope you know when I read the part where he's like, she's not my wife, she's my mate. I thought of you.
Blessings.
I did. I was like, oh, there it is.
This is one of those things that, like, again, we just saw. I didn't know that Feyre turned into Tarquin. Okay, so like I clearly don't pay that close enough attention. But there are random things I hyperfixate on. For instance, didn't know any of the whitethorns weren't raptor birds. Hyperfixated on that for like 6 months. I was like, so what type of birds are there? I looked up birds that were not raptors and found that out. So like, you know, it's just random. Like Avery knows the carpet and wind in the House of Wind. I know the types of birds that the whitethorns are. I also recently found out that Rowan is an eagle in the German version of Throne of Glass. That threw me for a loop. Anyways.
All right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me think. Anything else for who was it? I think it was Kate. I think you said something. It is something that's funny to bring up about Valeris getting attacked. It's when Cassian hits his siphon and it's like a full-on Iron Man.
It's like Iron Man. It's like Iron Man.
Yes.
I was like, what is happening? And that's all I can picture
You
now.
putting that in the chat and being like, look at this, and I'm like, are you just really?
Girl, I read the books 2 years ago.
No, but
So
Kate,
I had
I'm
no
so
reading
with you.
comprehension back then.
It's weird. It's something there's no way everyone
He's like,
catches that. Yeah, he's like,
I-
let's go.
I'm not kidding. Immediately when it happened, I was like, I'm sorry, did he just Iron Man? Like, what happened?
It
It's
like
the
crawls
weirdest.
up his body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does it happen again?
I don't remember.
No,
I don't
haven't
think so.
read
I'm
the-
gonna be looking for it.
That's a
though.
mistake.
I can tell you that.
I think they're in their full Illyrian armor for most of the rest of the books because they're at war. And like
Yeah.
at that point, he had just gone to see a play with Feyre, and he's walking
So
along the
weird.
river walk, and
So
then all
weird.
of a sudden they're getting attacked, and he's like, just kidding, real quick.
I also really loved in the beginning of that chapter, Faye was like, so at what point do I say to Cassian and Azriel, like, they don't need to watch over me? And he was like, you just say it to them. And she's like, but he's like, just tell them it's fine. Like, and I there are a few moments in the book that I really loved in regards to that, because Feyre's still, and you even see it in Akawar when Lucien comes and has dinner with the inner circle, like the formality of the spring court, they're used to that structure for so long that like coming into this like no structure environment is
Right.
so jarring for them. So
one thing I want to bring up that I hyperfixate on anytime I read Akamath is the scene. Oh my god, it's so cute. It's the scene where they're both standing in the hallway and he looks at her and he goes, either your room or mine, but like we're not sleeping apart.
So cute.
Now I'm just like, I was like, fucking thank you.
it's funny. Well, when we get to Silver Flames, it'll be fun because I think a lot of people have mixed reactions on Rhys and Silver Flames. And this is the one time and when in Mist and Fury is the one time I love this like cuddly, cute, adorable Rhys. The rest of the series, I'm like, no, that's not what I want. Where's the jerk that I know the world believes he is? The world believes he's a jerk. Like, I know he's not, but like he's convinced the world so much that he's an asshole that like they don't believe that he's nice. They think it's an act. And so I'm like, I want to see that guy because I think it's fun to see the person who's a jerk who's actually nice. And I think that's also why I love the bonus scene, the Azriel bonus scene, because I'm like, oh, there it is. There for a hot second, there it is. So, yeah.
I just like how he act like I imagine him acting in Feyre's head after he like loses his shit in Silver Flames.
Yeah.
After Nesta, does the big reveal or whatever. And he's like, get her the hell out of the city. Like,
Yes.
bye.
Yeah.
I like when Feyre is talking in Cassian's head later and she's like, I told him he overreacted. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the big one. And then we go to Highburn.
Yeah. I don't like talking about Highburn.
The only thing I'll say is I will never forget my reaction when Tamlin showed up. I wanted to rip my book apart.
I threw the
almost wanted to like rip the page out. I was like, I didn't read that. I don't want to know that. I don't even want to know that he's there. Like, what do you mean you're there?
I threw the book and then like I was pissed and then the sisters were dragged in and I was more pissed. But also like very secretly excited because I was like, we're Nesta. I get to have her forever. How exciting.
I did
but also like, oh god.
I did wonder if Sarah was going to deal with the fact that her sisters were human and she wasn't. Like that was something that was in the back of my head. Like, I hope we deal with that a little bit. I didn't like how it came about. I do remember my reaction with Lucien going, she's my maid. I was like, poor timing, bro. But anyways, like I was irritated with Lucien. Did anyone, just out of curiosity, because I've seen this come up a few times, did anyone think it was weird that he immediately threw his jacket on Elaine and tried to protect her?
So I think this whole scene I think is really fabulous because I think there are so many people that try to like get mad at Lucien for his behavior at this point. But the mating bond hadn't snapped at that point. I think that was just him trying to protect her decency because she was in like a sheer nightgown. It was like straight up naked. And when Nesta came out and was holding her, like Elaine was looking over her shoulder at Lucien. And when their eyes met, he whispered, "You're my mate." He wasn't like, "You're my mate. You're coming with me."
Yeah.
He was like, "You're my," like, he was like,
He's
"Oh
like
my God."
Shocked.
Yeah. He's like, "You're my mate." Like,
yes.
So I didn't think it was weird that he was protecting her. I think genuinely deep down, like I think he's a good person. He's been in bad situations, but he was trying to like help her. And I also think it's important to know, like some people get mad at Tamlin and Lucien specifically for the sisters, but they're not the ones that sold out the sisters. It was Ianthe.
It was
very
Ianthe.
clearly Ianthe. Yeah. I think people forget that.
But if you're a Tamlin hater, you could give Tamlin crap of why have you kept Ianthe around?
Yes.
Clearly
she sucks.
It's very interesting when you go. I mean, I've reread the Lucien scene. My reaction was very similar to yours, Kate, the first time I read it, And I think what made it interesting was hearing that other point of view that people thought like he was possessive. So I went back and reread it because I was like, could it? I didn't see it either. I saw it very much as like he panicked, said, "You are my mate," out of pure shock and like word vomit of the shockness coming out of him. And because he's a very diplomatic person. So I don't think if he actually had a minute to think about it, I don't think he would have said it, but it shocked him that much. And then I think I do think he felt drawn to her to protect her in that moment, but I don't think it came from like possessive. I just think it was like, she's clearly not happy. I'm feeling a need to protect her, so I'm going to use that instinct to protect her, but not in a weird way, just to make her feel safer. And
I didn't realize that people were saying that was weird.
I didn't realize that either. I mean,
no.
oh, well, welcome to the Elreal side of TikTok. So you're welcome.
Yeah, it's a really dark place.
Yeah.
No, but it's just people making another excuse for Elaine to not be a good match with Lucien. And I just want to be like, the man is a courtier and emissary and can get anybody to do anything he wants.
Yeah.
Elaine is a courtier who can get anybody to do anything she wants. Like, I don't understand where the disconnect is on like why they wouldn't be good together.
Well, and in that scene, it was just a simple like connection.
I totally agree with everything Kate said. Like, I think it's not like he always has struck me as a gentleman first.
Yes.
And always very considerate of women in his life. I think especially because of the way his mother has been treated and what he's observed. And so I never in a million years read it that way.
And he lost his love.
He did.
Yeah.
I feel like his mom. I'm like, his mom.
Well, and like, it's not, he didn't lose his love. His father beheaded the love of his life while his brothers held her down in front of him. Like,
this is giving a moment with Dorian.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yes. And so it's, I mean, I don't think we've seen the chemistry between Elaine and Lucien, and I think that's something she's saving, which is fine. But at least for now, we can see that there is somewhat of a, I don't want to say it's a respect, but it is similar. I think, but I do think it is like a sort of like respect, protectiveness over, in that moment, making sure she felt okay. Especially because, like, Cassian's wings are shredded on the floor. Azriel is dealing with that. Rhys is dealing with that. The mating bond. Oh, did anyone think the mating bond was actually broken between Rhys and Feyre?
No.
I did.
I think in the first read, I think I did. I was like, oh my God. And then as soon as you got Rhys' chapter, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can tell who didn't read Empire of Storms first before they read this book, because I definitely thought it was and immediately was like, okay, so how are we gonna deal with? Okay, they're still gonna stay together. Like I immediately started, and then I was like, oh, this is nothing.
Can we also just briefly, because we were talking about Lucien, talk about the fact that he uses spell cleaving powers to get himself out of his shackles to get to Elaine to wrap her in his jacket?
Mm-hmm, he does.
Can we talk about that for a second? That man knows what he's doing.
It's one of the few times we actually see him use spell cleaving, but he doesn't realize that's what he's using.
Right.
So it's a pretty cool.
I missed all of that.
Yeah.
I was looking at Cassian and Nesta, and that's if I'm being honest.
Fair.
Yeah.
Also, is this where at the very, very end, because they don't know that she's the High Lady.
No.
Until
Yes.
You find out in Rhys's chapter, like the next chapter.
The next chapter, right? And
the inner circle has no idea.
Yes.
That's like one of my favorite reveals, I think, because of their reaction, like Cassian and Azriel's reactions.
Yeah.
Az
is like, she's not your spy, she's your mate. And he's like, well, actually, she's my mate and my spy and my High Lady.
I just want to say, I see there's lots of comments about the Weaver and the Bone. We're not talking about them until we get to the spoiler section with all SJM spoilers. Yeah. So we purposefully are not talking about them right now.
And the prison too. Probably.
Yeah, we're not talking about any of that right now for a very, very obvious. We'll probably talk about this for a little bit longer and then we'll move into that. But just a heads up, we're not talking about any of the Weaver, the Bone Carver, prison, none of that until we get to spoilers. No, I would agree with you. I think the thing I loved about the Rhys POV was Amryn was shocked that he did it. Like, Amryn was shocked. She was like, Oh, got it. And I also love and we'll talk about it obviously in the Aquawar live, but I love Cassian's because we didn't see Cassian's reaction in that moment because he was busy.
Just a
But
little-
his internal reaction to finding out that Feyre was High Lady is probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there.
That's the whole deep dive. Yeah.
Yeah, favorite scene in the book. Ashley, do you have one? Caitlin?
I forget what I was gonna say.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many great scenes. I mean, I love chapter 54, as I've said. But I also love. I know we just said we're not talking about, but this is not spoilers.
Yeah.
But like, the fact that Rhys makes her go get her own wedding ring is just like the best thing.
Oh, yeah.
She has no idea. Oh, it's so
Wait, I'm
good.
sorry. I interrupt this to my new group chat with my coworkers called Team Tamlin because they are currently reading Agatar.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I called it Team Tamlin with a T and a purple background. So, wink. And the text I just got was, okay, 2 chapters in, but WTF at Nesta. Look, I know you're the youngest. You're the youngest of 3. Okay, sorry. Keep going. I will respond to this text in a snarky way.
But yeah, I love those moments. And then that reveal of the High Lady at the end, I think is really
I think my favorite scene is one we didn't really talk about, which I'm just now realizing we didn't really talk about it. It's Starfall.
Oh my god.
Oh no, we saved that for the end.
Okay. I was like, Sarah, did
Oh,
we
yeah.
straight up skip Starfall? Like, what are we?
forgot.
It's all of the I love any of the times that they pass the notes back and forth to each other, and then obviously all of Starfall.
Yeah, Starfall's good for the non-spoilery, but we're gonna
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would say, I think mine is a very specific part in 54 where she's realizing that, she opens the door and she knows that if she asked him to leave, he would. And then later, like she after he's gone through the entire chapter, explained everything. And I think that just the emotion of them just like, she's just like silently taking everything and they're both just like streaming tears down their faces. And then like after he's done like pouring his heart out to her, she was like, well, I had the answer for you at the door, but you just started talking. I thought that was just like, it was so sweet and so perfect. And then it just blends so well into the next chapter. I don't know. So I guess also 54, but just like the deeper parts of 54, like, yes, it explains everything, but like what's happening in the background while he's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the Court of Nightmares. I think there's just, especially when like, obviously like it's like hot or whatever, but then like how she is in his head, like you're not scaring me. Like she's like really seeing like the part he's playing and can appreciate like the 2 different sides of him. And I love that. And then like obviously seeing all their power and everything, but yeah. And then also, I mean, that was a big moment for her because it was kind of like being back under the mountain again in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good growth moment.
My chaotic ass. There's 2 things. One, it is Rhys picking the lint off of Tamlin. I just love when he's like, anyways. It's one of my favorites. And then I know this is not a popular answer, but it is one of my favorite things. It is Feyre being trapped in the house and Mor freeing her. That, I think, I love the way that whole scene went down. I'm not kidding when I tell you it's probably one of the things I've read the most. And I love that Mor continuously is like, you're free. You're free. Like, she doesn't say you're safe because she knows that's not the word she needs to hear. She says you're free. And then I love when you get closer to Rhys, you hear him like growl, I think. And she hands Feyre over and all Rhys says is, we're done here. Like, it is that whole I just love the way that whole thing went down. And then obviously it starts off your like magical journey into Night Court, which Sarah did an amazing job. And also I think like kind of going to 54 really quick, like there is I will like totally honest with everyone. Like I was not a rereader before Sarah J. Maas. Like, yes, I reread Twilight. Yes, I reread Harry Potter, but like everyone did. So like to me, those aren't really count as like rereads. What makes Sarah's writing so well is when you read a chapter like 54 and then you're like, okay, hold on, let me go back to the moments he's referencing, and you see like all of it being planted and you're just amazed at how like crazy it is. And then I think also I'm bringing up a few, sorry. And then my last one would be when the Suriel tells Feyre that that is your mate. That was what made me be an SJM theorist, because I kept that a secret, that I believed that was what was going on for so long, because I was so worried TikTok was going to make fun of me. I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I think, I don't know. And when she said like, or they said like, oh, your mate, you know, blah, blah. And Feyre's like, excuse me. I remember almost crying. Like I could not believe I guessed that right. Like it really, so like, I'm sure there's every theorist had that moment. I think for Avery it was probably like something that happens in House of Sky and Breath.
We know.
Yeah, I'm trying not to say
I
it.
never shut up about.
Yeah. But it's like, but I get it. Like that was a big one for me. It was the mates thing for this book. Because I haven't I've had little ones since then, but that was that was probably the most important one. So
Could I add one real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Wait, hold on. While she's adding it, listen to her add it. And if you have not read all 15 books, goodbye. We will see you. Next month, just so you know, we're doing Wings and Ruin and Frost and Starlight together. But we're about to go into like full Sky and Breath territory with all 15 books. So listen to Caitlin and then leave.
Skipping the quiz, because I'm good if we are.
We can skip the quiz. That's fine.
Okay, because like 2 hours. So.
That's fine. Yeah.
And this is a good transition to what we're going to get into. So when they're talking with the queens and they're talking about the letter that Rhys wrote to the queens. And
yes.
Oh my good golly gracious. I loved that moment. And Faye was just like, she's like really touched by it. She's like kind of in shock. And then here's our great transition. He ends the letter with a better world. And I was like, hold on. I was very excited when I found those words there.
Wait a minute.
I almost cried. Literally, like I'm on my lunch break reading on my Kindle Cloud and I saw that and I was just like, oh.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's oh God. And this book, I don't know what it is that makes this book. I mean, I know why everyone loves this book, but I don't know what like is the secret sauce that makes this book so lovable. All I know is like kind of to everyone, you guys all said it earlier, like it feels like coming home. Like even as much as I love Throne of Glass, like there's not a book that I would say feels like coming home. I think Queen of Shadows is my favorite just because of how much happens in that book. And it's just like one after the other, and they're all just incredible. But like Mist and Fury does feel like I'm returning to friends and family that I love dearly. And it's like a warm hug.
I think something that this has that some of the which Throne of Glass is like my favorite series.
Yeah.
So. But like we spent more time with Tamlin in the reread than I realized.
Yes.
But then it was like, I was like, because I've always read them like back to back, I like, they kind of blend together. And I was like, wait, does this happen in this one? And so much happens. Like they do so many things. And it's like, there is no lull in like my tabs. It's like constant, like you're either getting character depth, you're either getting like relationship growth, you're either getting world building, you're getting something like every other page. It is nonstop and the pacing is so good. And I think that's like, you're just like consuming it and you can't put it down because every page has meaning, which is really nice.
And it's not right. It's not that insta love either. It's like you don't know. I mean, we can all assume like what's going to happen at the end, but like she takes her time getting there.
It wasn't guaranteed.
Like, and it was all about Feyre's choice. Like it was always about Feyre's choice. And I feel like that pacing, like you said, Kate, I think that pacing was really, really amazing throughout the entire thing. Like there's never really a slow point, which does occur in some of her other books.
Yeah. Besides Avery, who I know her favorite book is Silver Flames. Is anyone here their favorite is not Mist and Fury?
Wait, in this series or in all
this in this series?
I think mine's probably Silver Flames, but I need to do the reread before I confirm that whole.
Yeah,
no,
I agree.
Sure mine's Silver Flames.
Okay. I know Avery's is Silver Flames. That's why I'm like.
Mine is Silver Flames, but for so many reasons, I feel like I need to explain it.
No, because I mean, like I get it.
Explain it now, but like this book is what it is. Like, it's so hard to beat, but like there's
Right.
so many different things about Silver Flames that I love because of who I am as a person
Yeah.
that make it my favorite. But like, I mean, it's Mist and Fury. How do you think?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I think Silver Flames is the closest to me, but it's not my favorite because it's too close to me. That like it's hard to read. That
Yeah.
it feels like a therapy session, and I sometimes don't want to read that. So I'd rather read a character who I am not like, and can just kind of dive into her world. It's the same reason why sometimes reading Aelin, I'm like, Rowan, stop it. Like, I know, okay? Like, it's, Bryce is sometimes too brash, so I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm not that crazy sometimes, but like, Aelin and I can get a little too close to the belt. Nesta and I are a little too close, so I'm like, okay, oh, wait, Mist and Fury, okay. Like, so it's just, yeah. Okay, full SJM spoilers. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Number one, the reason that put me in a spiral was I realized today that there's a high probability Bryce is gonna spend Winter Solstice with the Inner Circle, and like the first time with Nyx, and I just realized that, and I got way too excited about that.
We got very, very sappy and very
I just like
sentimental.
realized that Bryce was going to be with the Inner Circle at Winter Solstice, that we're going to see Nyx with his millions of presents that cover the entire townhouse, and Feyre's going to be like, he only needs one, and Rhys is like, no, he gets
And then-
all.
And then Avery made like a half joke, and it blew up the discourse.
Because Avery made a good point that if we do see Winter Solstice and it's kind of towards the end of Bryce's journey, it could be a good time for Az to give her truth teller and like send her on her merry way. I don't know if we
There were
will.
a lot of people who vehemently disagreed with that, even though it was like,
It depends on how
kind
long.
of a joke.
It depends on how long we're in there, but like Bryce left Lunathian right after Halloween. It was like November-ish at some point. So like I don't know how long she's gonna be in Prithian, but that was what my spiral was. But anyways,
I just don't know how integrated that they're gonna let her be with her being an outsider, and she doesn't even speak their language. Like, I don't know that they're gonna be like, yeah, just come hang out with us and our kid. That would be like my main critique of that.
I think I agree with you, but I think if she's there long enough, they'll let her, not by herself, but they'll let her be within their presence if there's more people in the room. But we won't see Nyx for a while in that book. I would be shocked if Nyx just like shows up very early on. I'll be like, I'm sorry. He's the definitely most powerful baby High Lord Jack version. That's like, they're going to be a little protective over him. Okay.
Can I ask about the Bone Carver?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk Bone Carver, Weaver, and all that craziness.
Okay, so I totally agree that this is possible, that she saw Nyx without his wings, right? What if she saw Rune?
I swear to God, I don't
What
think.
if she saw Rune? What if?
I have a hard time believing it. Like, the logical part of my brain has a hard time believing she would know it was Rune back then.
Right.
That's the part that like, if it ends up being Rune, to me, it'll feel like a decision that was made after. Whereas I feel like I would buy it more based off of what he's, because I went back and reread it when I heard that theory, and I was like, I still think it's Nyx.
Yeah, I don't think Feyre is ever going to meet Rune either. So that seems, I don't think any more people are coming over from Crescent City.
Oh, I actually think it might be Hunt. And this is a new one. I haven't even told Avery this. And again, this is like not really based on a whole lot, but I'm really, really hyper fixating on the Apollyon conversation with Hunt, which is very interesting to read. And at one point he says to Hunt, Apollyon says to Hunt, you are more similar to Bryce than you realize, and you need to figure it out pretty soon. And Hunt's like, whatever, screw you. And he's like, you've only figured out a fraction of your powers. And I suddenly was like, wait, could Hunt like winnow time travel? Not time travel. I don't want to say that. Winnow, word gate, hop, whatever. Maybe to me, like, she's going to have to do some heavy like planting for it to make sense. But maybe that's what he was referencing. I don't know. But I don't think anyone past Hunt who could potentially do it. Even that feels like a stretch.
No, my question was a complete stretch. I just was like, I kind of thought of it. I was like, that's just a thought, just interesting to think about.
Yeah. I think the only connection to Crescent City that we've seen in ACOTAR besides Amryn is Miriam and Draken and the Seraphim, potentially. And the stuff in Silver Flames with the prison. And then obviously Gwydion. But like, I don't think anything past that. I don't know. Anyways, Bone Carver. He's interesting to reread this time around. Did anyone have fun with that?
I mean, he makes interesting I tabbed him specifically with a note that he was really interested on if she was like moving between realms.
Yep.
Like if she was,
Yes.
that was like his main focus was like, he wanted to know how to like kind of get between realms.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it seemed like his questions were focused.
So
I'm interested to see. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I'm just interested to see how that comes into play with Koshe, since Koshe is the only living death god of their sibling trio now. Like, where's that gonna come in? Is the lake that he has control over a pocket realm? I have questions.
So there was a theory that someone had asked on Wednesday when we did our playlist, and I guess the what sparked this theory, which by the way, it doesn't play out like you think. It's Rhysand Feyre's bargain. Could it potentially be like finished if they were to travel to another world? Because of the way it was worded. And so because the person who made the theory said when we leave this world, we'll leave it together. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I went back and reread it. It doesn't say worlds. It says when we leave and we go to wherever I went when I had died. So then I went to the Bone Carver scene because she explains to the Bone Carver, to your point, Kate, like, where did she go? And she describes it as this dark and, desolate place, but she felt this thread and she felt this tide tugging her. So then it made me wonder, like, could the souls potentially be going to a level of hell that's not necessarily like or maybe not even hell, but just like a level? Because it also sounded a lot like what Hunt had experienced when going to the Pocket Realm with Apollyon. And it kind of sounded a lot like what Aelin went to and where she sent the gods. So now I'm like, is that what's going on? I don't know. And maybe that would then deal with Rhysand Feyre's bargain and we would be fine.
But is their bargain still in place? Like, I know that sounds silly. It is still in place, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Essentially, Nesta sacrificed all of her power to save them. And in doing so, it just kind of like, it saved them from dying, but didn't remove the bargain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it didn't count as them dying.
Yeah.
Correct. Nesta stopped time before Feyre died, so that didn't actually happen.
Yeah. It's and then the second part to that is Rhys comments at Starfall that there are less and less stars going through the sky, which then some people have said, well, that's because the Asteri are taking them through their gate and siphoning off their first light, which is why Rhys is seeing less. But then that's when I was like, hold on, if the stars are going, they must be going to a planet, I would assume, or a realm. So maybe that's how this whole thing... I still struggle with believing that anyone from Perithian is going to travel with Bryce. I feel like it's going to be like a, bye, send you on your merry way. She's going to end up in Terracin. Bye, send you on your merry way. And then that's it. Like, I don't think anyone's going with Bryce.
If anyone's going to travel ever, it's going to be Amryn, and it's going to be back to where she originated from. Totally. And it's going to be with the knowledge maybe that they learned during this time, but they're not going to interweave the series that much that it can't be read independently.
Did anyone really, I mean, obviously I know if you're rereading it, if not, when you reread it, you're paying attention to Amryn. Are you comparing her to Fury while you're reading it?
Yeah.
Do you think they're getting closer or different?
I would need to see more about Fury, but I thought there was even a comment also about something about her and fire
Yes.
think
at
it's-
some point.
it's
And
in
I
Wings
was
and
like,
Ruin. It's Wings
is
and
it?
Ruin.
I thought there was a comment about her and fire in this one because I think
Oh,
I
her
tabbed it.
eyes have like a flame in them, I think.
Yeah.
But when
It's like
she
flames dancing behind her eyes.
It might have been like a feeling that Feyre had. She was like, she
Yeah.
almost feels, and I was like, that's interesting.
I think what's interesting is that the body Amryn is in is one that she's created. Like
Yeah.
she does not look like this in
Mhm.
her natural state. So I'm wondering if she's less like Fury and more modeled herself after whatever Fury is
Mm-hmm.
as her high fae body.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a
brain melter.
yeah.
Think about it.
It's very interesting to kind of, because I also don't feel like in terms of when Mist and Fury came out that this was fully fleshed out yet. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's as many like seeds planted. I think that you start to see it in Wings and Ruin, because then you hear Amryn say that she was, one of God's favorites, and it's with a capital G. And we know that Amryn is based off of a biblical angel, which not shocking to anyone, because that's definitely what, the Asteri, not the Asteri, but like the archangels and all that feel very much of the same realm. I can't remember what I saw, but there's a really interesting theory about Amryn in regards to like Judaism, believing about like leaving the blood, and how like that references a certain type of angel. I'm of the opinion that I don't think it's that easy of a puzzle piece. I think Sarah just takes pieces and then puts it together to make something, which is why I think, in my opinion, Amryn is a true biblical seraphim, not the seraphim that Miriam and Draca are, but just when you look at like the evangelical Jewish and Christian belief of what a seraphim is, that sounds like Amryn to me. So, because she doesn't even say she has a humanoid form. So it's like, questions. So, someone asked about going through some of the Slido questions. I'm just gonna go through like a few of them, nothing too crazy. Okay, so someone said, what runes were there when Amryn used her magic in the Summer Court and tried to break free? Do you think she uses word marks? Yes. 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 Okay. I'm not gonna answer any power questions because I just don't care.
Fair.
Let me see. I do think that I do want to answer this one power question. This is the only one I want to answer, which is, I agree that I found it very interesting. Rhys was shocked at how strong Feyre was. Like, that did throw me off. I was like, oh, because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
do you realize how strong you are? And she's like, what? And he's like, interesting. Like, that I thought was a very interesting line. So
Yeah, he noticed like with the shoe, like very early on.
yeah. Someone said Feyre's the ugly sister. I don't. Was that ever? No. Okay, cool.
No.
This is an interesting question, but I'm gonna kind of reword it a little bit. Do you think anyone's Starborn?
I don't think anybody is Starborn, but I do think that I have theories about where the Starborn come from in Prythian.
You think it's Dusk?
So I question, because I feel like it was referenced that not only was Feyre remade, but that she was reborn, and she was given a star, like her power is like a star. That's how it was described when they was giving to her. So it makes me question. The words make sense of that she could be a star born. Now, I don't know if it's the same thing, but it could be.
I think she might carry Starborn power, but I differentiate having Starborn power and being Starborn.
Agreed.
Because I think that the Starborn descend from that whole High King Fen Queen Thea situation, which was the 8th court, which was the Dusk court, which is like a whole That's a whole tangent that I'm not going to go on at this hour of the evening.
I would also like to point out that Mala gave Aelin a piece of star,
Correct.
which gave her her fire magic. So
Mhm.
it was literally described as a kernel of star.
Correct.
So I'm with you in terms of like, I don't know what makes you starborn versus just a kernel of power that's a star, but it's something. And there's something out there.
And sometimes it's just an author
Who likes a
writing
certain
very
word.
similarly. You know? Like some of these things don't matter, even though I want them all to matter because that's who I am as a person.
Yeah, this is a really good question that I do want to ask. So it says, we know why Amryn is second in command after Akawar, but why is Mor third? Rhys calls her when the armies in Cass and Az fail. But could she really even keep up with Amryn? And I have this question too.
I think we all have this question.
I think we all do. But they apparently her power is well known because when she talks to the queens,
They
until
know
they're
her.
like, well, you put this in my mind. They know who the Morrigan is. And obviously the Morrigan is like known in lore and stuff, which we could look up. But
I think
what is truth?
Dusk's truth, hate.
I think that she would be able to keep up, but maybe be like slightly behind.
I just had a theory.
It would
I'm
be
sorry.
like close.
I
just don't with Amryn being such
Yeah.
an unbelievable figure. I don't think that it's possible for there to be an equal for her in this realm.
I'm with you, Kate. I'm with you, Caitlin. Like, it's hard. I don't fully and I hope it's like I've asked certain people. I'm like, explain to me what truth is, and the response I got was, well, it's truth, and I was like, no. Explain to me. And I never really got like a straight answer. And I reread Akawar, like the scene where she fights in summer, to like see if I could see it. And it's not even clear there what the hell it is. It's gotta come out at some point, right?
Yeah, I just had I'm about to go on a spiral later. It's
Okay, wait.
fine.
Wait, but if you look up the Morrigan,
Right.
have we gone into all of it? Like, there is, her name translates to Phantom Queen,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
and she's the goddess of war,
Yes.
death, protection, retribution. But it also says,
I know what you're about to say.
I think so too. Yeah.
that she has the ability to shapeshift and predict death.
Oh, no, that wasn't what you were going to say.
No, I think
And
Sarah
she-
and I are on the same page.
And she is able to foretell battle victories.
The
So,
Morrigan is
if she
also
knows.
one piece of the three-faced goddess in mythology.
She's also connected to Tuatha De Danann.
Yes, which, by the way, for anyone wondering, the Danann myth is hilarious to read when you know,
It really is.
because the Danann myth is all about fertility. And your, little Rune over there is a little concerned about his fertility. I'm like, bro, I think you're good. Just wondering. A fun question, really quick, because this one I think is fun. So and we'll go ahead and loop in the river house. So Rhys owns the House of Wind. He owns the cabin. He owns the river house. He owns the townhouse and the Moonstone Palace. Which is your favorite?
House of Wind.
Nonsense. Townhouse, House of
Townhouse.
Wind.
I mean, I think in this book, I don't think it was House of Wind yet, but
but
it becomes.
she's-
House
But I'm
of
saying in
Wind.
general,
which
like
one's
in
my favorite.
Yeah, in general, which one's
Yeah.
your favorite?
House of
Yeah.
Wind.
House of Wind.
See,
The House of Wind has a library.
It's a character.
no, I don't like.
Yeah,
I
it's a character.
I can't get over the Red Rock. It bothers me. I couldn't live there all day. I just could not
No,
look at
but-
that.
Well, you didn't ask which one you'd rather live in.
Well,
That's
I mean,
a
it's-
different question.
Fine. Which one would you rather live
The
in?
designer.
I'd rather live in the river house.
Yeah.
But
I think I
Although,
would want to
River's good.
I would want to live in the location of the river house in the design of the Moonstone Palace. Like, I want to be in Valaris, but I also want that bathtub.
God, Avery and can I just tell you, this ACOTAR, or I shouldn't say this ACOTAR, this House of Flame and Shadow house that we're trying to find is turning into Avery needs a bathtub house, because Avery is determined to read in a bathtub at one point.
In bathtubs. I don't know
So
what to do
she
for you.
literally every Airbnb I send her, she's like, that bathtub's not big enough. And I'm like, okay, didn't know we were going to be reading. I'm looking for comfy couches or a comfy bed. Like, that's where I'll be reading the whole time.
Yes, we need those too. But
I
need a big bathtub.
also want to say, and I haven't told this group, but I feel like everyone's going to agree. At one point, someone had asked, and then everyone latched on to, we want a like Big Brother style like live stream of you guys all reading all day, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, I don't want to I won't read fast if I know you guys are watching me 24/7. So instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a confessional room where we're just gonna have a camera in there, and if you want to go in there and vent, you can go in there and just turn on the camera, and then we're just gonna save all the audio. So that's what we're gonna do instead, is we're just gonna have a confessional room set up so that you can see our freakouts on like a nice camera for the whole time. So no, like we'll do what we did last time, which is like Zoom calls where like, 1 hour at night you can come and like hang out. But like I was just so weirded out by the fact that people wanted to watch me. Like, I know YouTubers do this like readathon where it's like, watch me read for 3 hours. There's a reason you've never seen me do that, because it will never happen. Because if I know y'all are watching me read, I won't read.
Yeah.
Like, it's already going to be hard enough with these ladies in the same room with me.
I think it's more just the like fly on the wall of our insane conversations, and I get that. Like, it's funny, but like also no.
This is the reality of what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to get these books. I already know. Ashley is going to go off and read by herself. She's going to want no one bothering her. Okay, Caitlin's going to do the same thing. And Caitlin will say like, oh, it's going to take me a long time. So like, I'm going to get distracted, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm 100%. I'm totally right. Am I not? I'm going to have the same, I'm going to say the same thing, because if I feel like people are watching me or something, I will read at a snail's pace. So I'm going to want to be by myself. Avery is going to want to be by herself, but she's going to want to read as fast as she can, because if we end up in Terracin, she's going to suddenly watch me like a hawk, pun intended, because she's gonna make sure that she's ahead of me when it happens. And then I'm gonna know that they show up, because Avery's gonna be like, where are you at? And I'll be like, chapter 25, and she'll be like, okay, 10 minutes later, where are you at? Chapter 30, okay, where are you at? 2 hours later, chapter 50, okay, ready? That's what it's going to be. So I'm gonna know that something's happening, and then Kate's gonna be in the corner where no one's gonna be bothering her, and she's gonna finish the freaking book before any of us do.
I will say, like, whenever Avery and I have done like buddy reads, like, she definitely reads faster than me, but she also does get distracted. So we end up reading about the same speed, because I can sit and focus and get through.
Okay, but all right, but you've never sat and buddy read an SJM book with me. I straight up sat for 13 straight hours on Silver Flames and didn't do anything else.
Are we gonna eat?
Yes. Oh, I should say this.
The whole time?
You know what?
Somebody will have to force
Hold on.
me.
When we end this live, I will explain to them what the plan is, because I don't want the whole internet to know, but I will explain what. Let me tell you, this is going to be a bougie girls weekend. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
okay. So, because I've been doing research and things. But yeah, it's okay. Wait. Last questions before we totally end this live, and then we can all vent. Okay. So I will say my favorite is the Moonstone Palace. I fell in love with the Moonstone Palace. I love the townhouse as well. The River House is definitely a favorite of mine, but I think the Moonstone Palace is where I'd want to be, because no one would bother me.
Can I say something about Valaris?
Yes, go for it, Kate.
As someone who's been to Europe, I've been to Switzerland, I've been to Italy, Zermatt is not Valaris. They do not have colorful buildings and music and shit. It's Lake Como, because literally it's like hills up to mountains, and then like the Alps continue, and it's colorful buildings. It's like the rainbow. And Zermatt is like the Illyrian little villages.
Where
So anytime anyone shows these little tiny like houses in like the deep Alps, that's like the Illyrians. Lake Como is like Valaris. And
Oh,
it drives
yes.
me absolutely insane. You're like,
Yes.
oh, Valaris City of Starlight, and then they show the middle of the Alps. It's like, no, this is not what this is.
I would love to do a like trip with my book friends and like do like a bookish trip where it's
Yes.
like we kind of like, I don't know how long it would take. Ashley would plan it. I'm just gonna be honest because I've never my
got you,
passport
girl.
has never been used, so like it would be nice.
I'm gonna need a heads up on the passport thing. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
wanna
it'll
go
be
over your
like
mind right
I'm
now.
gonna want to live out my Outlander dreams first because that's gonna be the
Mhm.
most important thing to me. Plus, that's also where things. And then I do need to go to Germany and see that castle, like
Fair.
for both my Disney heart and my because I feel like that's Terracin, just the way it's like set up, which it very well could not be. But the photos I've seen of it, I'm like, it's in the mountains and it feels right. But it's more the Disney history of it, which is what I find fascinating about that castle. And then I agree with Kate. We got to do the full like Valaris trip, but like I want to see both. And that may take multiple trips. That's fine because I'm like hopping around the whole universe right now. But like, listen, I'm okay
They're
with
all
that.
the nice thing about Europe is everything is very close. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say we do a Europe trip and then we do a New Zealand trip. Yeah.
yes, Hobbit.
Cool.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We do New Zealand. We do New Zealand because
Did y'all see Andy Serkis is narrating?
Yeah, I've been listening to them. And they're
Yeah.
amazing.
So good.
I was just
good.
gonna say we also go to New Zealand because I have a feeling that's where they're filming Avatar. I'm putting it there right now.
That would be amazing.
I think that makes
That
logical
place is
sense in my
freaking
brain.
stunning.
Yeah. So, but anyways, okay. We're going to end this. Last thing I'm going to say, and I know I repeated it, I will update the Discord for all of the information, not just their contact information, although we do like link and everything, but I'll share it again. But also we'll update the Akawar and Frost and Starlight stuff tomorrow, so you guys will have that. The last thing I want to say about Discord before we totally log off is I was going through the channels, and as we are getting closer to Frost and Starlight, I just want to rearrange a few things. So I'm going to don't be surprised tomorrow if you see like a small announcement of it being like under construction, because I just want to kind of update the flow of some of the Sarah J. Maas channels. So there's a lot of Sarah J. Maas channels, and I just want to get rid of some and consolidate and do all that. So we're going to do all that. And a few other things. And then we have a big Discord Patreon announcement coming up on Monday. So that's the last thing I want to say. But that's about it. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. I will go ahead and turn the music on, which you guys probably can't hear, but hold on. Let's see. Ready? This is the part that I need to get better at. There we go. Bye, guys.